Blog Talk Radio.
2017. Big Truth. The big talk for you. What up? Shout out Ahwar King. Big Boo. Me. Shout out everybody. Check it. Hey yo, debate talk 4. You so you can absorb. Information free of charge so you can afford. Get poppin'. Live off the greatest doctrine. Sip the juice, know the ledge like the great Rakim. On a mission, not a small time thing. Defense biblical, offense got the haters watching. Hands are skill, footwork is ill. Get in the den, see if you can stand for real. If you 2017, Big Truth, the big talk for you. What up? Shout out Ahwar King, Big Boo, me. Shout out everybody. Check it. Hey yo, debate talk 4. You so you can absorb. Information free of charge so you can afford. Get poppin', live off the greatest doctrine. Sip the juice, know the ledge like the great Rakim. On a mission, not a small time thing. Defense biblical, offense got the haters watching. Hands are skill, footwork is ill. Get in the den, see if you can stand for real. If you rep Kim and Cool, yo I rep Israel. If you Torah based only or new as well, welcome to listen. Style always fair decision. Two sides come together to compare what's written. Seeking the facts, seeking the math, teaching the acts, leaking the tracks. Call while you eating your snacks. Music in my bones, DNA, C, double E and K. Little something for the showtime, we can play. One love, one love, one love.
Welcome to the planets of the beats, the Beat Talking Radio. Study to show thyself approved. You're now listening to the Beat Talking Radio.
Peace and blessings to everyone that's listening. This is Moreh Yakel, the mighty Hebrew, Lion of Judah with Campaign for Biblical Literacy Ministries, walking in the way of my forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, observing the Torah, slaying devils, and manifesting the blessing of the Most High. Come by, pay us a visit by going to my website at www.campaignforbiblicalliteracy.com and by going to my YouTube channel at Campaign for Biblical Literacy Ministries. Shalom.
Hi, this is Tyrone Thompson, host of the Blog Talk Radio broadcast Talk Real Solutions. Please tune in and listen to all of our shows 7 nights a week at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. At Talk Real Solutions, we cover a variety of topics to ensure we speak about what may be needed in our community at any time. Talk Real Solutions is the hottest blog talk radio show going on right now. You can listen to our broadcast at www.blogtalkradio.com/talkrealsolutions or visit our website at www.talkrealsolutions.com. Also like our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/talkrealsolutions. You can call in at any time during the show and add to the conversation and offer your solutions at 1-858-357-8453. That's 1-858-357-8453. 404-357-8453 because at Talk Real Solutions, we want to make sure you have a chance to talk real solutions.
If you need an added push to have your products heard by 1,000 listeners out there, come advertise on Debate Talk Free Radio. All you need to do is send me an email at debatetalkforyou@gmail.com, and it's a $25 fee for a whole year to advertise, whether it be a live event, a book signing, merchandise, website, or if you have your own radio show that you'd like to promote. Once again, advertise right here on Debate Talk Free Radio. Take advantage of the low fee. Trust me, no one else will give you such a low fee to advertise via worldwide radio. So once again, send me an email at debatetalkforyou@gmail.com for more details. You don't want to miss checking out the most controversial video of the year. Everybody's talking about it. A video produced by Absolute Bible Truth teacher, Brother Josh. The video is entitled, "Is There a Secret Gay Agenda Amongst the Comedic Conscious Groups?" Once again, it's one of the most talked about videos right now, and you want to make sure you go check it out. So go to the website, www.absolutebibletruth.com/store. And once you get it, it's an automatic download. You don't have to wait for it to be sent to you in the mail. It's an automatic download. So once again, go check out the video, get it fast, and get it now.
Shalom, Israel. This is Brother Robert, a.k.a. Pastor Nobody, from the Fountain of Israel Bible Studies class. You can find us on thefountainofisrael.com or use the search box on YouTube and type in Fountain of Israel. You can also email us at foibiblestudies@inbox.com. Again, that is foibiblestudies@inbox.com. We believe the whole Bible is the truth and relevant to our lives today. Join us weekly as we feed the flock with the uncut word of God. Matthew 4:4 says, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God." So until next time, this is Pastor Nobody. Search the scriptures and prove all things. Shalom, Israel.
Blessed be our Father God and His Son, Jesus Christ. This is your beloved brother LeVar, co-teacher at Absolute Bible Truth Ministries. And I'm taking this tremendous opportunity that Brother Sai has given me to invite you guys out there listening to the Absolute Bible Truth broadcast on Blog Talk Radio. If you are out there and you have been searching for biblical truth, or you want answers to your questions, you can catch us every Saturday, the weekly Sabbath day our Father has given us. We begin our teaching in between 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Call in by dialing 319-527-6197. Again, call in by dialing 319-527-6197. Our lead teacher, Brother Josh, serves us up a meal, and I promise you, if you have a hunger for understanding the Word, you will get full. Also, like our Facebook page, which is the title of our ministry, Absolute Bible Truth, all one word. In addition to that, check out our website, absolutebibletruth.com, for other study material and online classes. Absolute Bible Truth is a congregation who focuses on the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth concerning the Word of God, while leaving out all personal opinion, speculation, and belief. Thank you.
This is Renald Francoeur representing from Atlanta, Georgia. And when I'm not busy in the studio, I'm checking out Debate Talk for You Radio. Keep up the great work, Sal Showtime.
All right. Hey, what's going on, everybody? How you guys doing? Welcome to another show. You're now listening to Season 7 of Debate Talk Free Radio. Of course, I'm your host, Sal Showtime. And once again, it is Monday. You know what that means. It's time for the Relationship Challenge. This is episode 30 of the Relationship Challenge. So if you missed any parts of this particular segment, the Relationship Challenge, make sure you go back to the archives. We have many different topics on this particular segment of the show, the Relationship Challenge, hosted by Emunah, Israel, First Lady of the Debate Talk for You. Make sure you go to the archives and go check that out. Today's show is entitled, What About the Children? A Conversation on Community Accountability. Once again, today's show is entitled, What About the Children? A conversation on community accountability. All right, so everybody's here. Once again, I see the panel is full. I see a lot of people on the phone line as well, checking out the show via phone and via Skype. You know that number, 319-527-6239. For the new listeners out there, the only rule that we have here is there's no foul language. You got to keep it clean, keep it professional. And believe it or not, we have people that listen with their children and even the elderly. So we appreciate you for tuning in live to Debate Talk Free Radio. Of course, everybody on social media land that's checking out the show, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, we appreciate you as well. Make sure you share it on your personal page, or if you're inside a group, make sure you share it. Let people know that Debate Talk Free is live and on the air. And of course, the chat room is officially open, people. That's right, the chat room is officially open. If you want to gain access to the chat room, you have to go directly to the website, www.blogtalkradio.com/Debate Talk for You. Click on this show, the Relationship Challenge, episode 30. And it's going down at the bottom. You're going to see a little box there where you interact with me or anybody that's inside the chat room. All right, so let's get this show started. Of course, we got to start off with the First Lady of Debate Talk for You. You've seen her on YouTube. You just subscribe to her channels, of course. Emunah, Israel. She also has the C3 Challenge out there for those who want to clean their systems very well. Make sure you go check that out. I guess you got to just go to the website, or you can Google it, C3 Challenge, and of course she'll give you the rest of the information. This is Emunah, Israel. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, Brother Sal. Thank you for having me. Greetings and welcome once again. I hope you're doing well. All praise be to the Most High. Yes, it's good to be back. 30. I feel like we're throwing big people now. 30th conversation, the community conversation. I can't wait to get into it. But before I, like Brother Sal said, I have a number of things that people may be asking, like how many things does she do? I'm Jamaican, so I got like 15 jobs, right? So we have the C3 challenge going on, which is the colon cleanse challenge. Definitely, if you eat, you more than likely have a colon. So if you want to know more about that, there's so many symptoms like eczema and being lethargic and, slow digestive, things of that nature are signs and symptoms that you need to cleanse. And we have a support group that is available via social media, as well as a step-by-step process that can help hold your hand in that cleansing. So you can go to c3challenge.club for more information on that. And as a treat, I brought back some natural soaps that I was selling for some time, but I took a little hiatus from that. So if you're looking for natural soaps, check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and all those places, and I can get you those natural soaps. So with that said, brother, and if you want to kind of just know who I am, Emunah Yisrael with a Y.net, and you will get all the information that you're looking for, including the soaps. So with that said, Brother Sal, we could talk to the other guests.
All right. Once again, that's the host of the Relationship Challenge right there, Emunah Israel. Now let's bring in the home panel. That's right. We have a home panel that's here each and every Monday where we do the Relationship Challenge. They are here. And the 2 Mondays ago, we actually have a new brother that's a part of the home panel, and he is here right about now. You can check out his YouTube channel as well. I'm going to have all of that information in the description box. This is my brother, Akwetey. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sal. Shalom to everybody that's listening. Good to be back on the panel again.
All right. Is there anything you want to say to the people before we begin as far as, there's people that's on the phone line that want to write down the information as far as the websites?
Okay, yes. You can actually get more information about me on my website, www.blogtalkradio.com. BasilAmah.com. That is BASILAMAH.info. Sorry, not .com, .info. So if you go on my website, you can read all about me, what I do, what we do, and what we stand for.
All right. Once again, that's my brother Akwetey right here on Debate Talk. You on the home panel. Let's go to my next special guest on the home panel. This is my brother right here. He has a new show actually on Blog Talk Radio. That's right. Ahwar Da Swordsman has his own show on Blog Talk every Thursday and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's called Bible Fire Radio. That's right, Bible Fire Radio. You have my brother Ahwar Da Swordsman. Welcome to the show.
Big Sal, what's going on, brother? Shalom to all the brothers and sisters on the line. All praise the Most High in Christ. Thank you, man. I appreciate you letting me come on, man, and break bread with you. And I give you a hand, Sal, because it's a lot of work to put the shows up.
Yeah, man. Now you know what it is behind the scenes, how to operate the Blog Talk thing. It's all good though. But how the show been going so far? Pretty much. Oh man,
it's been beautiful, man. It's building up. Friday, Sabbath night been fire. Thursday's gonna be fire. Oh, I gotta bring this up. Tomorrow's the night of fire. I'm going in deep. So all you brothers and sisters that can come up and show support, that's a fire show, and I thank Sal for letting me do that. But it's been good, brother. I appreciate it for asking.
All right, so once again, it's Ahwar Da Swordsman. Like I said, all the information I'm going to leave in the description box later on. So for those who want to reach out to everybody that's on the panel. And, of course, we have my sister right here. And, listen, if you want to have some great flyers to advertise your business or whatever, this is the sister to go to right here, as well as Emunah. They do great work when it comes to flyers and advertising on social media. Of course, I'm going to leave all that information, how to reach out to my sister right here. This is Mayanah. We appreciate you. Welcome to the show.
Shalom, Sal. Shalom, bud. How you doing?
All right, doing pretty good. Anything you want to say to the people before we move on?
No, I know what it is. You know how to get at me. I'm here every Monday, so I'm not going to promote myself today, but instead I'm looking forward to the conversation. So shalom to the listening audience. That's all.
All right. So, of course, like I said, we're going to definitely have all the information so you can reach out. And we do have a special guest. We try to always have a special guest to, come on and join us on the Relationship Challenge. We have my special guest. This is, I believe it's her first time here. This is Onleilove. Onleilove, welcome to the show.
Shalom. Thank you for having me. It's my first time on as a participant, but I've been listening to Debate Talk for you since the first season. So I'm so blessed to be on with you all tonight. My name may sound unusual, so I always tell people my name is Onleilove, like the phrase, I only love you, and my parents did give me that name. And I also go by Chica, which in the Igbo language means Yah is supreme. And I'm a community organizer, speaker, writer, and founder of Prophetic Whirlwind, Uncovering the Black Biblical Destiny, which is an educational ministry that teaches about our Hebrew identity while inspiring us to do justice in our community. And the first book from this ministry will be published later this year. And you can find me on Facebook at Prophetic Whirlwind, on Instagram at Prophetic Whirlwind, and on YouTube under the same name. And on Twitter, you can find me at Prophetic Whirl. And I would just say before we delve into the conversation, every time I introduce myself, I share a little part of my testimony and what Yah has brought me from, because I was born and raised in Brooklyn, and at age 7, my family and I became homeless, and I went into the foster care system. So it's great to talk about what we do, but I love to talk about who I am, and it's only through the grace of Yah that I'm able to be here with you all tonight. And so the recent issues impacting our Hebrew families really hit close to home for me, and I'm blessed to be here tonight.
All right. Well, so that's Onleilove. That's original right there. Onleilove is on the panel. We appreciate you. All right, so let's get the show started once again for those that's joining in. Today's show is entitled, What About the Children? A Conversation on Community Accountability. Emunah, you can take it away.
All right. Once again, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'm your hostess this evening, Emunah Israel. So definitely press your ones and lift up your hands because we're going to have a conversation about the children. This is episode 30. And if you go back through the catalog, as we did last week, we spoke about a host of things, And in that, you might have the conversation about the children here and there. But to my understanding, we have not directly addressed what about the children. And Sister Mayanah brought this conversation, and I said, hey, let's do it because why do two become one? There's a lot of conversation about the issues in the relationship and what's plaguing and what constitutes marriage. But at the end of the day, it's to produce another generation. And what about that generation? Are we doing what it is that we need to do to ensure that they have what they need to be successful? Or are we setting them up for failure? And that's kind of the conversation that we're going to be having today because there's a lot of teaching, there's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of doctrine, a lot of rhetoric. And what has happened is that the children, even if they're born in this way or if they're observing it, it's so much confusion that the children walk away. Or the children become confused and their relationship with the Most High is challenged because of what they have seen reflected to them. And so today we're going to directly speak about the children and how they are affected by what it is that they're seeing and what we, the people, in our struggle to return, are mirroring for them. So with that said, I'm going to I have a little story first, and then I will begin to open up the opening thoughts as it relates to what about the children. So, as you can hear, I'm from New York, and I remember years ago, working at this major department store. So I'm all excited, like, yeah, we Hebrews, da-da-da-da. And I'm working at this department store, and the girl's name, the way her name spelled, it could sound like, a round-the-way name. So, I'm just, like, her name was like Lakeisha, something like that. And so, I'm there. She looked like a regular person, and I had on my fringes and I had on my everything. And she says, you're a Hebrew. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And she starts talking to me and she's like, yeah, I'm a Hebrew. So I automatically start looking at her like, where? You know what I mean? She's like, oh, yeah, I was born and raised in this way. I didn't speak English till I was, 2-3 years old. I spoke nothing but Hebrew. So automatically I asked the question, what happened? What happened? If you were born and raised and you understood and there was no question, you never discovered, you always knew, what happened? What made you turn away? And I guess I'll continue that conversation as we have this one because these are the things that hopefully we'll be thinking about. What is making the children turn away? And with that, I'll open up to Sister Mayanah because she wanted to bring up this topic. Sister Mayanah, can you share a little bit about why this was impressed upon your thoughts to bring this topic forward? And as usual, welcome everybody to the panel. We're just going to go around for the opening thoughts. And you don't have to get it all in the opening round because it's the opener. So you just, say your piece, and then, the conversation organically begins to build. So, Sister Mayanah, the mic is yours.
Hey, shalom, everybody. This is why I will be pressed to talk about this on this platform is because of all the recent events that we have now where the family coming to the front. I was getting so many inboxes and text messages and telephone calls asking me to reflect on certain situations that are happening between adults and their relationships, and then there's kind of this echo, or the children are kind of the consequences of these conversations, but not really the focus. And like you said in your introduction, that we very often and we have very continuously been discussing how relationships between men and women are formed and how they are maintained. And then we do all of this forgetting or perhaps neglecting that there are children that either come of these unions or are introduced to these new situations, right? We talked about polygyny, and that means that sometimes there are mothers who are joined into family and bring their children get so caught up in what this means for the woman, what it means for the man, the children that are watching this. I have a teenage daughter. She's 19. Been through for almost a quarter of a century. So quick math tells you that she has always been an Israelite. She's never been anything else. And so she has seen a lot of what I do and who I come into contact with. And she, at 19, she's been 19 years, living this. So she's always baffled by some of the things that the adults are stumbling over because she doesn't understand how these things are getting lost in translation among adults, her being a young person. And then, of course, she wasn't homeschooled. She went to public school. And then having to send my daughter out into these spaces, and then they're like, okay, so your name is what kind of name is this? Obviously, everybody's tripping over her name. And then she gives their name, she gives her background, and then she's immediately associated with this whole set of ideas that don't necessarily represent who she is. We don't remember that we're seeking YouTube fame while we are doing all these things on social media, that's all great for the adults, but there are women and children behind you that are going out into the world, and these things are being reflected onto them. And so those are the concerns that I wanted to talk about, because we're talking very recently with the family in Maryland where there's this issue surrounding the children. This is not the very first time that I have had to hear that there was a case brought before the court system, and the people who are adjudicating the case have no idea what Israelite means until they Google it. And the images that they Google, are they coming up with images that represent the creator, this culture, or what we're supposed to be doing, or are they coming up with these very confusing images? And while we as adults may say we can survive those, or we can refute those, these children cannot. So when we are making all of these efforts, I think that we need to remember that it's not just about us. And it's not just about what we like and what we want or what we feel like or all these causes we think that we have the right to defend. We have children that have to go out and also defend against these very things that we're dressing them up in. And we need to be very mindful of those conversations. And I don't think that we always are. So I think that this is a great opportunity for us to do that, because the relationship challenge is not about the men and the women. It's about the family, and it has been about the family since episode 1, season 1. And this is my reasoning for that. So I'm hoping to hear a lot of feedback from the audience, a lot of some of their personal testimonies, some reflections about the children. I'm sure that many of the people on the panel will do so also, because we're mothers and we're fathers and we are community organized, and the children that are one of the main elements of our concern. So with that, I yield the floor.
All right, thank you for that. That was the voice of Sister Mayanah in her opening statements, and again, I would have to agree that one thing that she said that really jumped out to me is that the parents sometimes are a little more equipped with life tools to deal with the negative feedback that they get from being different, let's say. But the children often are not. And that's something that, as we have this conversation and, the reality, the hardships of growing up, period, let alone growing up in a space where you're reflecting to them what should be, and the only place that you can show them that this is actually happening is, let's say, in the home. But when they go outside, they have a whole lot of questions that if you are modeling something that is error, they're really, really going to be confused. So with that said, I'm going to come to Brother Akwetey, because Brother Akwetey is the latest addition, and thankfully, to the Relationship Challenge, and we look forward to the conversation that he has to bring. So I want to introduce Brother Akwetey and have him give his opening thoughts about what about the children, community accountability conversation. Brother Akwetey, the mic is yours.
Thank you. It's interesting. I call the modern man and woman, the sophisticated cavemen and women. You know, the modern man and woman these days, our faith is in science. You know, we have defined advancement and progress as moving away from the past into the future. And we use words like old-fashioned, old school, this is archaic or outdated. No, and these terms actually drive us away from the past. And what's wrong with the past and the future, I would explain very shortly. But the more we advance, the more uncivilized we become. The more we advance, the more we experience less peace. I remember when there was a time a village raised a child. Now the television is raising our children. There was a time we stayed married for 24 years. Now we stay married for 24 hours, sometimes less. There was a time a parent taught their child sex education. Now we're so advanced, we allow pornographic movies on the internet to teach our children. There was a time when the birth of a child was good news to the entire community. We are so advanced, we kill our children before they're even born because they're an inconvenience to us. We've obtained more knowledge in education, and yet we have less wisdom. And I believe God is trying to restore us, but he does not want us to advance by progressing away from him. He doesn't want us to go our way to the future, but rather he wants us to come back to the future, come back to the Torah. And this is a paradox. And until we come to the understanding of this, man will continue to destroy himself. And not only do we destroy ourselves, we destroy our children who are actually the next generation. So I'm looking forward to put my 2 cents on the topic as we go on. Thank you.
Thank you for them shekels, brother. That was some profound things that you just shared just now. And again, I look forward to unpacking those thoughts because that also contributes to what we're seeing now, as Mayanah spoke about the desire to be seen and not realizing that you're not the only one that this image is going to be reflected upon. And so with that said, we're going to check on our guests, and then we're going to come to you, Brother Well, we have not forgotten you. But Sister Onleilove, what are your opening thoughts on this conversation? What about the children? What are your opening thoughts? The mic is yours.
I have a lot of thoughts as someone who, as a child, was homeless and in foster care when my stepfather lost his job, and we were placed for neglect, economic neglect, which is a nice way of saying poor. And so I know that the system, especially in America, I know not only as a foster child but as a social worker that this system wasn't created by us and it wasn't made by us. So there's so many landmines when you're trying to raise a Hebrew family or just, for lack of a better term, a black family, that we really have to think about how our actions under this captivity impact the family. I remember growing up in Brooklyn and, not being raised in a faith, but wanting to seek the Most High. And I was afraid of a lot of the Hebrew Israelite brothers I saw. And so I started praying and reading the Bible at home and went into a church in the neighborhood. And people can judge or bang on the church, but we also have to look at ourselves and what we're putting out there because we're all a collective. If the arm suffers, the leg suffers. And so when we're eager to be seen, eager to make our point, eager to take our stand, I do social justice and organizing. I'm all about taking a stand, but I'm not about being foolish. And this is not to blame any family, just like I wouldn't want anyone to blame myself. But I think we have a serious imbalance in our community when the feminine principle or the Etzer Kenegdo, which is the Hebrew term for helpmate in Genesis, is suppressed and not allowed to play her role. We have a community where the children and the family fall to the wayside. We don't have our own schools. We don't have our own orphanages. And the first Hebrew congregations in America were, started right after slavery. So why don't we have some of these things in our community? Yes, we're under captivity, but Daniel and Joseph were able to still, have basic things while they were in their captivity. The problem is not necessarily Yah. The problem is us. And so I was thinking about this episode and just thinking about 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 14 to 17, and it really speaks to what we're wrestling with tonight. It says, "But even if you should suffer for what is right, you are blessed. Do not fear their threats. Do not be frightened. But in your hearts revere Yahshua. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give a reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect, keeping a clear conscience, so that those who speak maliciously against your good behavior in Yahshua may be ashamed of their slander. For it is better, if it is Yah's will, to suffer for doing good than for doing evil." And so we have an issue in our community where some are speaking evil, doing evil, and then those who are trying to do good suffer for it. And we really need to be able to give a reason with shalom for why we believe what we believe. And so I think there's some serious imbalances that I hope we talk about tonight.
All right, thank you for that. That was the voice of Sister Onleilove. She's our guest for this evening, along with the other home panelists. So thank you once again for that opening statement. With that said, Brother Ahwar, are you there? What about the children, Brother Ahwar?
Yeah. You know me. My concept is, if you get lost in the forest, go back to the beginning. And I want to go back into, why these things happen. I deal with the what, why, when, and how. I want to read this right quick. This Deuteronomy 29:9. It says, "Keep therefore the words of this covenant, and to do them, that ye may prosper in all that ye do." Right? Then I'm going to go to the 20th verse. It says, "The Lord will not spare him, but then the anger of the Lord and his jealousy shall smote against the man, and all the curses that are written in this book shall lie upon him." So let me just read this curse right quick, and then I'll show you where I'm going with this. This is Deuteronomy 28, verses right here. Deuteronomy 28, verses 54. "So that man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother, toward the wife of his bosom, toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave." And I'm going to jump to the 56th verse. "The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eyes shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter." So I read all that to say this. We have to reverse this curse first. We have to deal with this curse that was put upon us, and we have to begin with this. This is what we have to do before everything go right. This is Deuteronomy 10. This is Deuteronomy 10:16. It says, "Circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart, and be no more stiff-necked." And the reason why I say that, because I've been in this a long time. I've seen the craziness. I've seen a situation where in a Hebrew family, it was a kid, and he hated the culture of being a Hebrew so bad, but his parents didn't know this. And to this day, the parents don't know. It was a certain brother I knew. And he told somebody I know, like, when he grow up, he don't want nothing to do with being an Israelite. And the reason why, because this was forced on him. He wasn't given understanding. He was made to believe this, And that's the thing I want to cover with that. I want to cover the hatred and the malice that brothers and sisters have, that it gets into the situation with the children and kids, the bearing grudges. There's a lot of things we have to talk about this family day. There's a lot of issues that we don't like to discuss, and we take a blind eye to. But I'm going to say that. I'm just going to pass the mic.
Thank you for that, Brother Ahwar. You bring, again, excellent points, opening statements, excellent points. If you're standing by, feel free to press 1. We're going to come to the audience soon. These are some excellent points because, again, I've known a situation like that as well. When the children are feeling like, I think it's the children feel forced upon. There's a portion that says teach diligently your children, but because of the confusion amongst the adults, and sometimes the adults are made to seem like they're being forced upon, and so they're not serving the Creator with joyfulness and gladness, or they have issues and problems that they bring to the service of the Creator. And this is where my if you want to call it, my ministry or thought process comes in. When we're talking about this situation, if we're speaking about the return outside of healing, if we're speaking about the return outside of humility, if we're speaking about the return outside of any of the formula that the Creator has given us, this is why, like Brother Award just read, we are seeing the curses continue to be perpetuated. Because this is one thing I'd like to say, and then I'm going to come to Sister Mayanah. For some reason, those scattered in diaspora seem to think that knowing who you are is sufficient enough, to make sure that you're righteous. And I like to kindly remind people that there was a number of wicked Israelites who knew who they were. Coming out of Mizraim or Egypt, they knew who they were. They knew who their family lineage was, and they were still wicked. So just your identity, and I think because we have been so far removed, I like to say the Most High, knocked us into the middle of the next millennia. And because we've been so far removed from everything, the minute you grasp on to an identity, the thought process is that equals righteousness. And I have a saying that, consciousness does not equal righteousness. And so this is, coming to these realities within our community that just because doesn't equate into righteousness, it doesn't equate into humility, and it doesn't equate into truth. And having these real conversations with the parents, so that they can go through the process, so that they will not continue to pass on to the children their pre-existing issues is a big thing that I don't see happening. I think that just as you wake up, you know who you are, I watched the YouTube video, I know who I am now, and we're thinking, you're automatically supposed to become righteous. And this is the furthest from the truth, especially, turning back and looking at 500 years, 400 or 500 years of dispersion, captivity, and exile. It's unrealistic. But with that said, Sister Maya, your thoughts on what you've heard thus far, or possibly unpacking a certain area of this conversation that you desire to unpack. The mic is yours.
I'm thrilled at so many of the things that I have been hearing so far. I love that Akwetey reminded us about the distance, the forced distance that we're trying to put between ourselves here and our history, and we treat history like it's a dirty word. I love that Sister Onleilove has shared with us a very practical reason why this is important to her and how it affects children, having had to go through so many things on her own. And she shared with us that she only knew what Israel was from what she heard. And I think this is important, that we have to, like you said, we're becoming very excited about this new knowledge, that we're very excited that we know who we are, and we're forgetting that we had to come to this place to get this excitement. At some point we did not know, and there are many people who are still in the space of not knowing. And so and we like to go around, we forget, it's not the ones, and I'm not going to say this to disparage or to take away anything from the men doing this, but it's not the ones that are on street corners. It is you who live your life. Your life is the testimony to the others. The ones that are on the street corners making deliberate efforts to in the ways that they choose to share are doing a work. But every single one of us, every individual that's walking around self-identifying as an Israelite is giving a testimony, is saying something. And so when we do that, we have to understand that that is not just, and instead of walking away with or walking around with all of this arrogance, we need to remember the accountability. Every other episode, probably every other conversation, we're always bringing down this word of accountability. Everybody loves authority. Nobody wants to talk about accountability. You adorn yourself with the words Yisraelite. You are very proud of this thing. But then you forget that with that, there's a great deal of accountability if you're walking around and you're demonstrating something that doesn't look like our culture, you do not want to. If you are staining the name of the Creator, the Holy One of Yisrael, then you are not doing your job. And what you are doing is now this stain that you have put, your sons and daughters are carrying because they are not out of conversation. They're being talked about. They're being talked about. They're walking because we came in. I came in the 90s. The world knows how we do. We came in the 90s. So I remember when I came in. At any given time, like every other weekend there was a baby shower because if Yisrael can do anything, it's make babies. So every other weekend we had a baby shower because somebody was pregnant. There was just that many of us, and it's to the point that my daughter and another child have the same exact name, and they're born days apart. And so all these children went to daycare together. So we go to the daycare center and look at these parents with their heads coming in and their garments and the way they carry it. And they had no idea who we were. And what the kids do, the children in these classes are curious about their names, curious about why they don't eat certain things, curious about why they don't participate in certain things, curious about why when the teacher says that Halloween is Satan's birthday, our children were like, what are you talking about? Our children had different responses to these things at such a young age. And the fact is that these children are growing up Israelites. There's these very little representations, the inheritance of Israel, these little people behind us, and we are so consumed with our own purposes and our own interests and our own desires and our own need to be right. And this idea, I'm so every day confronted with all of these conversations about the men want to be in authority. And how many times do we have to, not accountability, do that. They want to be understood and heard, and they want to be allowed to express themselves, and then they don't want to talk about the accountability that comes with being heard. If you want to talk, you have to be able to contribute something of substance to the conversation. You can't talk for the sake of talking. That's accountability. We don't tell the women that for no reason. We don't tell the men about accountability for no reason. It's because it's somebody other than your counterpart that you have to consider. Remember when Joseph, we talked about Joseph earlier. I think it was Sister Onleilove, who brought up Joseph in his captivity. When he returned to his father Israel said he didn't think he would ever see him again. But now he got to not only see Joseph, but Joseph's children. And Emunah and I always have these conversations about multiplication having to do with the other generations. We don't not look past us that we produce. But Torah wasn't like that. Our ancestors are not like that. So when Akwetey says to go back and look at history and don't divorce yourself from the lessons thereof, then that's because we look back at our ancestors understood that it wasn't about them. It wasn't even about the fruit that their bodies bore. It was about that multiplication. It was about the generation after that generation after that generation. If I'm not mistaken, it's a proverb that says that a righteous man leaves an inheritance not for his children, but for his grandchildren. Our ancestors thought about the children. Are we thinking about our children when we're gangbanging on Facebook? Are we doing that there? When we're trading diss tracks on YouTube? Are we considering that the children are watching this and going to school with our children and what we may potentially be subjecting our children to? That when they're taking our children out of the homes, it is because other things were because we go around and we're cursing all the time. We seem incurably furious about everything. There's a way and a manner in which to do things. And we have to stop believing that we exist in a vacuum when we do not. With that, open the floor to others.
Mayanah's bringing the fire. Mayanah's bringing the fire right now. Yeah, definitely. No one is Sister Oni. I'm going to just keep going around, and then we're going to come. I'm going to come to Brother Akwetey, and then I'm going to come to you, and then Brother Ahwar, and then we're going to check on Brother Sal, make sure he's good. But you bring up many points, one of which with some people, like on this platform, YouTube, wherever, I will always say the world is watching. the world is watching. Like Sister Mayanah just said, for some reason, people think they exist in a vacuum, and all of those, I don't know who you imagine or who we imagine those counter markers to represent. Those watches and views are not bragging rights. Those watches and views are minds. Those listens, those downloads are the minds of people. And the accountability is, and I was speaking to Sister Mayanah about this earlier, the accountability is, and the humility is, if I don't know, I am not going to intentionally, just for the sake of moving the crowd, say something that I have not substantiated. And this level of accountability of not just being able to get up and just say whatever you want, no matter if it's going to be leading people astray, like that's wrong. You understand what I'm saying? And we, the people, you can't necessarily jump and shut someone's mouth, but the responsibility is also on the listener. If you're not going to hold the people accountable to say, you know what you said, such and such, I'm not too sure about it. This is why we have open conversation. Sal does not screen the lines. Because if we're saying something out of turn, or we're saying not just I don't agree, says this, that, but if we're saying something that is a detriment, then we need to be told, listen, that what you just said could potentially be X, Y, and Z. And this is the kind of community conversation, hopefully going forward, we will have, instead of just being like this empty vessel that people can, because one thing I have to say, and I come to Brother Akwetey, I can't say it enough. When we come to truth, and I put it in quotation marks, we're coming with all of the baggage, all of the issues, all of the good and the bad that we have acquired from our family, our friends, and our community, and we filter the truth through this lens if we do not do the soul work. So you have to understand that some of these leaders and some of these teachers who are spewing venom or twisting and turning the scripture to fit themselves are doing it through their brokenness. It's like projecting light through a broken prism. So you're like, ooh, that's a pretty pattern, but I don't think it's supposed to look that way. And so we all have a responsibility to that, because then we expose our children to these things. Like Brother Sal said, children are listening, so parents should be at the helm. Elders should be at the helm. Don't just abandon the post because you're a little bit lost. Be a bit honest with the children. Listen, guess what? We're just returning. I don't know everything. Be honest. Because what happened is children kind of like, okay, it's Tuesday, this is what's going to be happening. And so if you're bouncing all around and you're just so emphatic about this is what it is, and then next week you listen to another teacher and you change your mind, the child looking at you like you just obviously don't know where you're going. So we have to keep these things in mind as we're talking about our children and guarding their minds and their experience. But with that said, I'm going to come to Brother Akwetey, and then Onleilove, I'm going to come to you. Brother Akwetey, the mic is yours. Brother Akwetey, are you speaking on mute?
Yes, I was. I'm sorry.
Go.
Okay, this is quite interesting. See, I come from a culture back home in Ghana. I mean, I've lived in the United States for a while. I've traveled around the world because of my father's occupation. Lived in England, lived in Germany. And I come from a place that parents don't play with their children, because the moment you see a child, you see the parent. Not only that, the moment you interact with the child, you're actually interacting with the last name that binds the child. You see, we have to come into the concept of communities. We are a nation, but we are divided into individuals. When we come back to community living, where everybody knows everybody, where the whole community raises up the child, when the child makes it, the whole community is happy. It's like a family. Because my father's last name is attached to me, he makes sure that what I learn at home, what I learn in school, I carry his reputation. If I go outside and mess up, I'm actually dishonoring him. I'm disrespecting him. The shame is coming on him. So he makes sure that he teaches me in the way of the Torah how to interact with other kids, how to interact with adults, so that even when it's time to get married, You marry into a family, and we go by the last name. What family do you belong to? So we say Bruce. Okay, what do we know about the Bruce family? Now we go back all the way to the past and check their reputation. What are they known for? So it's like you belong to a family, and the family knows that they are chosen in the community. They're supposed to stand out. And that is what this Hebrew Israelite nation is supposed to be. We are called chosen people. We're chosen for a reason. To be chosen means that you have responsibilities. You're chosen to show the Torah, to teach the Torah to the rest of humanity. We should sit back and ask, if the rest of humanity Googles us, looks up us on Facebook and YouTube, would they want to come to the Torah? If we sit back and we assess ourselves, what are we teaching? We're supposed to be the lamed, the teachers of the world. Who will sit down as our audience to listen to us? Do we have that much reputation? What is it that we're teaching that people can live by, that children can go on YouTube, sit down, and benefit from? Is it all about no Africans, the debates, the world is flat? All these things, how does it build communities? Where do we leave our kids if we don't pass anything on to them? God tells Abraham, I know you're going to be great. The reason you're going to be great is because of what you're going to teach your children. Your children are going to make you great. You're going to benefit because of what you teach your children to do. Justice, tzedakah, charity. So our future hangs on the children. When we miss it, we're doing ourselves an injustice. And it's going to go through the generation. It's going to be like a cycle. We will keep repeating the cycle. And just like the descendants who did not want to go into the promised land, God is going to keep killing us. Like Brother Ward said about the curses. They're going to stick till we become conscious that, wait a second, we are chosen people. We're supposed to teach the world. We're supposed to teach our children like yeast. They go into the community and transform the community. But we are not doing that because we are busy trying to argue our way to wherever we want to go. Heaven, I don't know. But if we come back, refocus, and then we start with the children. The adults, we are grown and we might not be able to change anything. But our children, they are the ones who we have to teach them how to have influence. And that is where the Hebrew woman comes into play.
All right now, for those who have just joined us, we're talking, what about the children? What about the children? We've been speaking 29 episodes about the issue with the marriage relationship, the issues that we're experiencing. So it's no wonder that the children now are suffering because they are the byproducts, as some would say, of these relationships. And they come into spaces where the parents, oftentimes, and the family are not prepared to support them, to grow them and to nourish them, give them all the things that they need. And so that's what we're talking about today, because as all the panelists have expressed, they are the future, and it's not just a cliche. That's the reality. And if we're not concerned about them, then the question is, what are you concerned about? Sister Onleilove, the mic is yours at this time.
Thank you, and I appreciate what my brother from Ghana said about the women, and I was in Ghana in November with a Hebrew community there for part of the time. And, as Hebrews in the diaspora, we have a lot of assumptions about our culture and assumptions about the role of women in that culture. And, one thing I just keep thinking about is just pride comes before a fall. Yes, we are under the curses, but like First Peter says, it's better if we're suffering for doing right than suffering for doing evil. And many times Hebrew Israelites will say, oh, we're being persecuted because we have the truth, and that may be true, but sometimes the persecution is what we're bringing on ourselves. And I'm a part of a Hebrew congregation now that's 64 years old, and always believed we were the Hebrews, but didn't fully come into the truth and fellowship with Hebrews until 2012 because of some of the dysfunctions that many people know from New York, whether it's from One West or whatever. And I'm going to keep it blunt. You know, we do have a lot of problematic teachings that have come out of New York. And so it's an issue when we don't have healthy communities for women, for children, and even for men to come into. And if we don't have healthy children, if our children are not even in our possession, our nation doesn't have a future. And that's not, like my sister said, a cliche. Also, one thing I noticed, because I'm involved in serving at my congregation, I'm involved with the young adults, is that we may have a Hebrew name, we may have some fringes, we may have a head wrap, but we do not have a Hebrew culture, in part because that has been taken away from us in the captivity. But we have a lot of knowledge, but we're not building a culture with that knowledge. We can't help what we don't know, but with what we do know, again, it's just sad that we have more institutions online than actually in our community. Any culture is going to create boundaries and programs for their children, for their women to be protected, and also so they can walk in that way. I see a lot of Hebrew parents trying to make their kids walk in a certain way, but between the Shabbat, the parents are not even walking in a certain way. Or if the kids see their mothers being abused, do you really think they're going to want to stay in this Hebrew culture when they grow up? Are they going to respect the authorities in the Hebrew culture? And we can't use the captivity as an excuse for a lack of accountability, a lack of culture, or a lack of abuse. You know, we cannot use the captivity as an excuse, because if we call on Yah and if we humble ourselves, we will begin to see a healing in the land. But again, I just feel like sometimes this is becoming another gang, it's becoming another thing in the conscious community, and it's not becoming a culture, and it's not becoming a way to connect and humble ourselves before Yah. We can't have any spiritual maturity without emotional maturity. So as the sister said earlier, are we doing the healing work? We want to return to the land. We want to do this and that to other nations, but have we really repented before Yah? And it's very upsetting when you come into this way of life and you see children and women who need help, and the only place in the community they can get help is Catholic Charities. But then we all want to teach and bang on the Catholic Church. That's a problem to me. And so how are we really building a culture that's rooted in healing and true spirituality, and not just building a culture that's, you know, built on our wounded egos, and we want this identity to prove to other people that, you know, we're this, we're that. Some of the focus needs to be taken off of other nations and put back on us, because if we do what we're supposed to do, Yah will give us the power to rise above these nations. But it's sad when a Hebrew couple can lose their children, and one of the charges that the court brings against them is, well, we Google Hebrew Israelites and they hate women. That's unacceptable, and that's something we can control, the content being put out. If there's agents in the community, that's a whole other discussion, but we can control the content that we're putting out. And we're not controlling it because it's more about our egos than the community and families. And so even connecting with Hebrew brothers and sisters on the continent of Africa will give you a different perspective, and really thinking about, it's not just about me and my identity, but will my grandchildren know their identity? And also, abuse should not be a hallmark of our culture. When you mention Hebrew Israelite, the first thing people shouldn't think is women being abused, women being treated wrong in marriages and relationships. How are we teaching the nations when all of this is being put on us? And yes, we're going to be persecuted for the truth, but sometimes we need to be honest about if we're being persecuted or if we're reaping what we're sowing. So I'll pass the mic to my brother.
All right. Thank you for that. That was Onleilove again. I know y'all must be listening like, wow. But this is some real stuff right here. This is big people talk, as they would like to say, a big people conversation, because that's a question that she asked. You know, are we being fake righteous? Like, oh, this is because of all them righteous deeds I did, or is that just what you put out there? You know, these are the questions, and these are the models. These are the things that we have to reflect on our own lives every time you step out the door and every time you open your mouth. I like to say you represent the true and living power. You work for the Creator. So when you go to the corporate world or wherever you go and they say you have a uniform, you have a badge, or you have a name tag, this indicates that you work for this corporation. And anytime they have a code of conduct, a lot of people like to kick against, oh, you can't tell me what to do, blah, blah, blah. It's like, wait, hold up. If you work for whatever airlines and they say, guess what, in this uniform, I need you not to do X, Y, and Z. If you want the job, you will not do X, Y, and Z in the uniform. We respect that. Why? Because they're going to give you the food that you need. They're going to give you the money so that you can live. But when we say we represent the true and living power, we feel we could dress anyway. Nobody can tell you what to do. You could talk anyway. You could justify eating any kind of way. And this is an issue. We have to look at how we're actually processing what it is that we're saying. Again, because as people are saying, it's growing, and people are looking and saying, wow, okay, Hebrew Israelite, that means there's going to be, our minds are associative organs. So as soon as you say something, and guess what, it's sad but true, negativity stands out more than positivity does. There have been research done on how many positive things you have to see to erase one negative thing. This is why in a relationship you could give, and that one time you said no, the person only remembers that one time you said no. This is the way our brain operates for whatever reason. That's another topic for another day. So how are you representing yourself every time you step through that door? And will you get a good report or a bad one? These are the things that we have to bring it back home, because you can run up on the leaders and be like, yo, you know, who made you leader, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is, if you don't give the power to the leaders, then they will not be empowered. They would just be, and, you know, if they're doing it for, you know, grandstanding, if no one's listening, they ain't going to stop doing it. But it's only because people are listening that's giving them the incentive to continue to do it. And like you said, these children these days, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, you say something, they're on it. They're on it. And a lot of them are misguided. The parents are not home. The parents are in the street. The parents are doing whatever. And so you now become who they're looking towards. And what are you giving them? What are you giving them to go on? Brother Ahwar, what are your thoughts? And then we're going to come to Brother Sal and see what's going on the phone line. What are your thoughts on this, Brother Ahwar?
Right. Yeah, I wanted to say something about the video that brother put out, that, you know, that he said the government rolled on him, and the situation evolved because of a stepchild he had, and she was very rebellious, and it spiraled into something worse. And honestly, I've been in this a long time. It's imperative, especially in this time we're in, to understand and read the gospel. I'm going to tell you why. A lot of us don't want to read it because we think that that's something that was tampered with by the man, but what it gives us is the spiritual battles that's going against us. And I said that to say this. If that brother was really reading the gospel, he would have saw that coming with his stepchild, because, number one, he was forcing this lifestyle on her, and he didn't remember that's not his offspring. So she's not going to receive it like him. That's somebody else's offspring, meaning the father. So he didn't understand that. He was so busy trying to enforce Torah law on her, but he couldn't see that this is not for her. This word is not for everybody. Okay, some people it's for, some people it's not. You got to leave them alone. But it evolved to that. So when the people rolled on him, they tried to make it more than call him. If he didn't listen to what they were saying, they would call him a terrorist. They were putting all these different things from what other groups did. Okay, in the street. That's where it come from. He caught a lot of that, but what he don't understand, they have us labeled as terrorists way back. I mean, this thing go, and I wish I knew. I would have told him, you got to be careful now how you move, because we're labeled as terrorists way before GMS got on the street or that bad garbage was out there. Because when I was around 90, Okay, this guy I know, I'm going to say it right quick. This guy I know, he became sovereign, right? So he withdrew from the government, and they gave him all this paper and said, you're listed DOA or something like that. And he showed me, I've seen this with my own eyes. He said, look what they have us labeled. And when you look at the top of the paper, it said terrorist. It said terrorist. And this was back in the 90s. So that's why when I was looking at that brother when they snatched him up, they were giving them terrorist charges. And they're going to come at everybody that claimed that they're Israelite. Watch. They're going to come. And I've seen this, and it's going to get worse. And those guys on the street that's talking that garbage and putting that bad taste out there, it's just going to make it worse. And that's why they're labeling us terrorists. But this go way back from the beginning, okay? This hatred, this is a spiritual. I'll go into that another time, but I just wanted to put that out. So going back to the kids, and all this stuff, I'll say, well, I ain't going to hold. I got a lot to say, but I'm going to just pass the mic. I just wanted to put that out there, how that happened with that brother and the kid and all that, and what it really was about. But I'm going to pass the mic.
All right. Thank you for that. That was the voice of Brother Ahwar. We're going to check on Sal at this point. Brother Sal, are you there? Do we have any hands in the air? Let us know what's going on over there in listener land. Brother Sal.
All right. Once again, this is Debate Talk for You Relationship Challenge. I know you guys enjoy this particular segment. It's entitled, What About the Children? A Conversation on Community Accountability. You know that number, 319-527-6239. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, feel free to call in. We welcome anybody to call in with their questions, their comments. Let's keep it clean, keep it professional. I don't see anybody pressing 111 at this time, but as soon as they do, I'm gonna let you know. You can continue.
All right, thank you for that, Brother Sal.
Hold on 1 second. Somebody press number 1.
All right, go ahead.
Just press number 1. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to 678-672. You're live in air. 678-672. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm sorry. I had you guys on mute. Yeah. But great topic. Very informing. I just had a quick question and I guess a statement. The brother that was speaking last and one, I believe he said something. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I believe he was saying something about the daughter that she that the word or the message was not necessarily for her. I wanted to know if maybe you can kind of explain what you meant by that, please.
Say it again. I didn't hear you. Say it again. What she said?
Okay, I said that you said previously when you was speaking that the word that the man was bringing forth, the man of the house was bringing forth, was not for her. And that might have been a reason why she wasn't trying to receive it, and all of those things kind of came to head. I wanted to know if you can possibly explain what you meant by that.
Oh, okay, I got you. This is what I meant, right? Let me read it. Okay. Number one, this is in this time, this is like a calling, okay, a spiritual calling, right? And what I was saying is, you ever met somebody and you talk to them, and as you're talking to them about the scriptures, it's like they zone out on you. They're not receiving what you're saying. Then there's some people you can meet, and they're like, what? Oh yeah, okay, I want to sit down with you more. They have that eye. So what I'm saying is, there's certain people that they're forced this on people, and it's not for them. Okay, the Most High is calling us spiritually. Some of us, that's why I tell you in the scriptures, he said in Isaiah 29, he has smitten some of us with the spirit of blindness, that you're not going to see this. Going back to what they did in the past, there's scores the Most High is going to settle with people way back in the past during the time of Moses that was speaking against him, that he cursed them in the future, that they're not going to see these scriptures. So sometimes you'll be talking to people and they just don't get it. And like I'm saying, sometimes you could talk to people. Like I think, this is just my opinion, I'm not sure. At that time when he was trying to force this word on her, she was rebellious. He said that she was going online and showing her naked parts to people. Sometimes you can't force this on people. Take time. That's all I was saying.
Okay. I understand what you're saying now. So, and here's another question. From my understanding, she was a child. So even children, even a child can, if you are trying to give the word to a particular child, and if they come off to where they don't want to receive it, they don't like what you're saying, can we then assume that maybe that the word is not for them as well? Or as parents, are we still supposed to, or not, supposed to continue in what we are doing as parents, even if we are or not that particular child's parent, but because we have joined forces with the one that has the child, are we not supposed to still advance in trying to get that particular child on board to what is what is the, you know what I'm saying, right? Or not?
I'm saying,
are we not supposed to just know that maybe they're not receiving it because it's not for them?
Depends, like, okay, say if you have a daughter that's 18 or 19, right? How would you deal with her? Like, she's a grown woman now. She don't, she can leave, get on place. She don't want to hear that. How would you deal with her?
Well, a daughter that's 18 or 19, in my perspective, is still a child. Now, I'm not really going to go by what the law says here in this land, that when a child gets 18 or 19 or 20 years old and they are a full-grown adult. But I know that even at the age of 20 and 21, that they are still very much still attached to their parents, and whatever kind of guidance that they may need, that they still need to get every little bit of that. And now seeing how that child may have been 18 or 19 and are just now getting to hear the truth about who she really is, it speaks volumes on the parent. That maybe that for sure that the parent didn't know as well. So as far as thinking or that notion that that maybe once you try to educate child on something and if they're not receiving it at a particular length of time, that maybe it's not for them, I think it kind of speaks on our patience, because even our Father, our Creator, there are plenty of times that He tried to call us and we didn't hear Him, but that definitely didn't keep Him from continuing to try to show us. He never threw up His hands and said that, well, you know what, maybe this isn't for him, or maybe this isn't for her. So yeah, I'm just trying to get an understanding of what it is that you're saying, but I do understand now, since you did repeat it and we went into more emphasis on it, and yeah, that was it. I'll keep listening.
Well,
thank you.
I'm going to read this one thing, and I'm going to show where I got that from so you don't think it's coming from me. Okay, this is Ecclesiasticus 16, starting at 1. It says, "Not a multitude of unprofitable children, neither delight in ungodly sons." It says, "Though they multiply, rejoice not in them, except the fear of the Lord be with them." That's where I got that from. And that's a problem that a lot of us, we see a kid don't want to deal with what the Most High do, and we put extra in them, and they don't care about what the Most High say. Some kids are created that way. They call it a bad seed. It happens, That's why a lot of people don't like this Bible, because Most High, he called it the way it is, But I'm just going to put that out there.
but it's important as well to examine the fruit. You know, you just can't look at the seed and not examine the tree from which it came. You know, so in my estimation, I would think first to if I am trying to give a word to a child or whatever, and if they are not receiving it, I really can't just look at the child. I have to look at the tree from where the child came from, and if I am the parent that is trying to give the word to my child, I'm gonna have to look at myself. And I have to be like, what did I do, or how did I? And these are questions I may not even have to ask myself because I already know, you know. And so that should make me more humble and more patient towards my child, you know. And if it isn't my child, then that's just another type of project right there. But at the same time, I don't know. It may just be me or what have you, but I feel like we should look at the
let's let some of the sorry about that. Let's let some other people on the panel chime in. Emunah, you want to say anything? You want to add to this? Okay.
Yeah, I think what the caller brings up is a very interesting point because, again, and I understand what Ahwar is saying to a degree. As we are waking up, everyone is not waking up at the same time, including children. And so, say, for instance, you already have a family who, you know, children 10, 11, 12, who before this time you were teaching them about Christmas, Easter, you know, JJ and everything else. You know, you were going to church and Thanksgiving with Big Mama's house, you understand? And now all of a sudden, you know, you saw something, and do you expect them in your mind to change on the drop of the dime the way in which you did or halfway did? And that becomes a problem with families who are waking up to this truth. And for some, it may be in them, and for others, they may be saying they may like it better when. And this becomes a problem. You know what I'm saying? So I could understand what it is that Ahwar is saying in the situation where you have children that you have already contaminated their thought processes before you knew with paganism and other things. You know what I'm saying? And so it becomes difficult because that child has already begun to grow in that space. How do you reach that individual? Do you just force them? Do you reach out to them? Do you try to meet them where they are? Do you just lay it down, you know, this is what it is, and if you don't like it, get out? These are the real conversations that we need to be having because these are the real things that are actually happening. You have to, you know, listen to some of these scenarios. And then you have one more thing, and I'll let someone else speak. You have blended families where a lot of
Hello? Yeah, Emunah, actually, her call dropped. Call back. Oh, man. I want to call back in when you get a chance, but let's let somebody else. Onleilove, you want to chime in and you want to add?
Yeah, just observing some of the Hebrew young people I see now in the work that I do, like young people who are being raised Hebrew. Yes, you have issues with blended family. You have issues with bad seeds. You also have issues, like Emunah said, where the child was totally raised one way, and then now they have to be a different way. Or what I see from people who grew up in this truth, they're Hebrew on the Shabbat, but then Tuesday they're doing what everybody else does. And then also the kids are isolated. So especially if you're going to homeschool your child, you should still have them fellowshipping, if possible, with other Hebrew children. I went to college with people who were homeschooled or high school. It's a great thing to do as long as the child is not socially isolated. And these are the things we need to think about, you know, before you up and change a diet, before you up and take the child out of school. Are you able to create a culture where they want to be in the faith, they want to stay in it? No other culture is as isolated as we sometimes are, and then that's when you see people doing certain things on social media so they can get attention, which the young girl did, but also some of these people who are quote-unquote teachers are doing outrageous things on social media, maybe to get some attention because the only Hebrews they fellowship with
are online. So, some things are deep and spiritual, and then I think sometimes the most spiritual things are simple. And so how are we creating a culture where the children want to be a part of it? We can't just, tell them this is what you are, but they're only that when they're with you. How are you teaching them to stand strong in their identity? And how are we also incorporating just what is a healthy culture into our families? A culture is not just what you do on YouTube and what you listen to, but a culture also has to do with courtship, with clothing, with food, with fellowship, with celebrating the holy days. I see a lot of Hebrew young people really struggling, not always because they want to be disobedient, but it's so isolating that if they go off to school, they're back into, the world because we haven't established anything. That's all I have to say for now.
And Emunah, you're back, actually. You're back on the line. Our call just dropped again. What's going on here? Technical difficulties. I got you. Okay, I see you again. I got you. All right, hold up. Maybe against technical difficulties with Emunah. Wow. All right, let's go to somebody else, though. Let's try to work that out. Let's go to Akwetey. Anything you want to add? You can add that. You can add something.
Yes, I would say that we should, if possible, try not to leave any child behind. Age is not a factor. When we say child, I'm always going to be a child, and as the Torah says, I should honor my parents, I should respect them, I should stand in awe of them. They still have a responsibility to teach me stuff. Parents never give up on their children, no matter how old their child is, no matter how young the child is. So we should do our due diligence. Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes the kids may not get it. That's why Solomon said that teach a child according to his or her way, that when he is old, he will not depart from it. Some of the seeds that we sow, we don't see it yield fruits till maybe the child grows and be able to draw from what they saw mommy do, they saw papa do. The principles that they were taught, even when they were not listening. And I think if we take that approach, the person might not be interested because maybe our approach is wrong. The person might not be interested because maybe we are forcing it down their throat. What we should realize is we live in an age that the kids are intellectuals. So now we have to come up with a different approach in teaching the book. If you bring it from a religious perspective, from experience, the kids run away from it. But introduce the book as any other book that they read. Read it as an intellectual activity. Sit down and ask questions. Before you start wearing the fringes, I require that you know what the book says. So it's not you being indoctrinated. Find out what the book says. Ask all the questions. Challenge the book. Let the book make sense. So that when you decide that I'm going to walk this walk, you're doing it coming from a rational point of view, not because daddy was a Hebrew, mommy was a Hebrew, because daddy kept Shabbat. And you don't know what Shabbat is. You don't even know the books in the Bible or the Torah. So if we change how we reach the children these days, I think we're going to be very successful. I do this very often. I talk to the youth, and I mean, they love me because I come to their terms. Let's read the book. Do you read this chapter? I'm going to challenge you that what you were taught in Sunday school, that's not what it says. And I give it to them. I ask them questions. Okay, I'm going to ask you these questions. I want you to read it tomorrow. Let's discuss it. See if you find the answer. So you get them interested in reading the text. They have to read it. If you just tell them, it will fall on deaf ears. They have to read the text for themselves. They have to challenge it. They have to be able to sit with you and ask you, why do you believe what you believe? Do you believe because you watched a video on YouTube? Do you believe because maybe your parents were Hebrews? Why did you not choose Islam? Why this? What can you tell me about the Torah that the Muslim cannot tell me? Why not become Muslim? So when we have these intellectual conversations with the kids, let us not make it religious. Make it intellectual, because all of them are intellectuals. Make it intellectual. Discuss it with them, and you see them open up. And now you can say, okay, now this is why we wear this. This is why we keep the Shabbat. This is why we do this. And you see that everything will start coming together. With that, I yield.
Brother Sal? Can I be heard?
Yeah, we hear you.
All right, because I was just checking. Thank you for that. I was having a little technical difficulty, but thank you for that, Brother Akwetey. I want to say that I agree. That's, everybody has their different teaching styles, and it helps that the parents, and sometimes they don't, as we're having this conversation, have kind of a handle and a grip. Some people become agitated and feel indifferent if they're questioned and they're not sure themselves. And so this makes the conversation with children difficult. I particularly like having conversations with children because they have a level of innocence and curiosity in the way in which they reason. And so it's like Brother Akwetey is saying, if you help them to relate to the text, then it's no longer something that you're forcing down their throats. It's a way in which, if you take out as some will say, the moral of these stories, a lot of us are still reading, reading the Torah like it was some nursery rhyme or something. You know what I mean? Like, the old woman who lived in the shoe. It's like the way we're reading it is like we're not extracting the essence from it and seeing how we can benefit. It's just like, let's argue about, the color of David's trousers. But no one is looking at the lesson that David learned or did not learn, or how can we learn from his life experiences and his choices. And so I find that teaching the children to read the narrative, understand what happened, and also understand that history is still being made. A lot of us stop for the children. They're like, well, wow, that was a really long time ago. You know what I'm saying? What about now? And a lot of us, as we come to this truth, we think history is either finished at Malachi or finished at Revelation, but you're still here. So testimonies, although they may not be being compiled in a book that you have right now, if we're still here, then the story continues. And to have them connect between then and now is very important, because otherwise they're disconnected from the whole reason why we're still doing this. A lot of people would have you go right back into the wilderness, right out of Egypt again. But the reality is, the only reason we keep going around and around is because we have not yet learned, and we have to show the children through our actions and our humbleness and our willingness before the Creator to learn, and let them see that we are a work in progress, and be more human. With this, it will be helpful. I'm just speaking from my own experience, but I'm going to go to Sister Mayanah right now. Sister Mayanah, how it is. Let's hear from you. What's going on? If you have something to say as it relates to what the caller said or what you heard thus far, feel free to share.
Well, hallelujah. Absolutely. This conversation is now bringing in the children. I hear Akwetey talking about addressing the child on their level. We forget that these children are processing things in the same way as we are. They have their own set of experiences, and we have to be sensitive to those things. The caller was curious about the way Ahwar framed his assessment of that family situation. I think that one of the things that Ahwar said that I found interesting, and I think that is something we might want to flesh out a little bit, is that the daughter in question was not his biological daughter, and for that reason she did not receive, or she wasn't able to latch on to the lesson that he was teaching. But she was the biological daughter of the mother, and I think that the issue of biology may not have been the strongest point, because the daughter was a teenager, and she is partly, like you said earlier, this issue of the blended family. There are many, many factors that were involved in that, and I think that this idea of biology cloud accountability, because we don't want to say that we don't have any type of influence over those children who are not biologically connected to us. Akwetey earlier spoke to the very well understood adage of it takes a village. You cannot accept the idea of it takes a village if you are going to be limited by your own bloodline. You know, you have to say that child is my child also. Or we are children. If you are going to say, if I see your donkey, it's not my donkey, but I won't let it stay in a ditch, how much more if I see your daughter or if I see your son going into a way that is going to be hurtful unto them, that I will sit and watch them hurt or watch them be led astray. We are up in arms again about these women, these little girls or these daughters that are missing in D.C. No one would say, well, that's not my daughter. I don't want to be concerned about it. These theories about where they are and why they because there's something that is almost intuitive in us that says that a child is not the possession of one family, that a child is our community responsibility, which is why this conversation and the title of this particular segment was deliberately that this is a community conversation about community accountability. Yes, I said earlier that as individuals we go out and we are living testimonies. But even in that, we give a testimony about how connected and how concerned we are about one another. Emunah and I speak every other day, if not every single day. I'm in contact, and Emunah is in contact in different ways with different sisters and even brothers all of the time, because we don't live in a bubble. It's not just enough that I have literally 30 books currently checked out of the library, and that I sit in my little world of academia all by my onesies. That's not enough. It's not enough that I hold Shabbat lessons with the 4 youth in my house. It's not enough. It's not enough. It's important that all of us are involved with one another. That's why sisters call me, and we have these conversations, because I'm invested in the rest of the community. Emunah is invested in the community. Sister Onleilove, has an entire foundation that's invested in the community. Ahwar has a show, not because he has nothing to do on a Saturday night, but because these community conversations are necessary. Akwetey comes onto this panel. He has a family of his, and he has his own networks and such. But why? Because the community needs to be in constant connection with one another. All of these children matter. All of these children are our children. If we understand that all of these, the reason, do you have any idea? You know why Facebook is so popular? Because people want to go and be seen and connect with other people. So we cannot say that we want to be alone and we don't care about other people. We do care. Now what we have to do is focus that concern and make it something that is it has merit that will benefit and protect us. And will protect our children and protect our families and protect these unions. All of these people running around trying to get married at Pesach and doing all of these other things, for what reason? To what end? Everything is supposed to be to the glory and the honor of the Creator. And when we don't keep that in mind, we miss the mark. We are falling very, very short of what we are intended to be. So we really want to build this nation. Who are we building a nation for? As we age, who is going to come behind us? So we're going to be very serious about this building a nation, and we don't want to just make it a soundbite because it sounds pretty. We need to make sure that the children that are coming up behind us are going to keep that nation going. The floor is open.
All right, this is real talk, y'all. This is an area that I do more walking than I do talking, because your walk is your testimony in this space. As Sister Mayanah says, the conversation is needed, the conversation is definitely needed for us to understand that it's called sacrifice. You understand? Like everybody, the woman who still wants to go to the club, the brother who still wants to hang out on the corner, and little Johnny's watching TV. That's the problem. It's called when you choose to, and you know what? The conversation, it leads to this point because of all the things we've spoken about here and other places, is that when we come into the space of doing things that bring forth procreation, a good majority of the time, we're not ready to bring forth procreation. And so when you use procreation for recreation and you bring forth children that you didn't intend to bring forth, then we have these problems presented. But if we presented this problem to Iman Sarah, she would probably laugh too. Like, wow, that's your problem? Because when we look in antiquity and we look at our forefathers, their issue was that they wanted children and did not have children. And as Brother Akwetey said earlier, today our issue is a little bit backwards. Many people have children who didn't want children. So it goes to shine a light on our mentality about, like what I heard somebody say the other day, bedroom privileges. What is your mentality? Because the children is a manifestation of the act. So whatever thought processes you have, whatever energy you have when you go into that space and you want to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, and then you wonder why the child came out doing what they want to do, when they want to do it, how they want to do it. I don't know where you came from. They came from that thought. They came from the fact that, okay, Brother Sal, am I keeping it clean and professional? I'm trying to choose my words. You were chemically aroused. They came from the thought you just wanted to have fun. We have to understand that whatever spirit you are in when you create, then that's what you're creating. Have you ever heard a musical song and you be like, wow, that person really must have been at a sad point in their life. Why? Because they made a sad song. So we a lot of times we're not even educated in this space to understand that these children, like it says, when a man and woman comes together, that's to a certain degree the book of Genesis where this conversation is said. Let us make man in our own image and likeness. When a man and woman comes together, they are saying, even if they're not saying, let us make man or Adam in our own image and likeness. This is why they say, who you look like? Oh, you kind of look like your daddy. Oh, you look like your mama. Oh, you look like your mama's side. Because you just made a child in your image. And so these are the areas that lead to the areas that we're talking about now, that the parents, when they were just doing whatever in some cases, the child now becomes a burden and not a blessing. Or the children now become a burden and not a blessing. And then we are so, because of continued disobedience, behind the 8 ball, you understand what I'm saying? Can't get yourself together because of walking in this way. Maybe you're disconnected from your family, so now you're isolated. And maybe your relationship is on the fritz, so now you have an issue there, and the child, the offspring, suffers. So it's a domino effect that leads to this space, and we have to investigate all of the things that lead up to now. So say you find yourself here now. You have some hard choices to make, men and women, because a lot of times in this nation, the men are leaving the women still to raise these children by themselves and then turn around and wonder why the children are coming out like this. Because when we get to this point, a lot of people not willing to say, you know what, I'm going to just have to take that. And I'm going to have to step up and absorb the impact so that I don't pass it on to the child to the degree in which I got it. We have to begin to mature in these areas because it's a serious situation. We can't sit on the sidelines and say, what about the children? We have to get in the game and say, what about the children? Who haven't we heard from in a minute? Let me see if anybody has their hands raised, and then we're going to come to Sister Onleilove. Again, like I said, this is a space where, I will say this. For the children who feel isolated, at one point I was doing Take Time to Learn, where the parents could allow their children to come on and see other Hebrew Israelites who may be scattered across the continent. What I found was either the parents were more caught up in whatever they were doing, so they didn't allow. The children were looking forward to it. But either I'm doing something, I'm busy, I don't have time. The parents are so caught up in their own space that every Sunday at 6 o'clock, my children would be sitting there waiting to see the other children, and then they wouldn't show up. And when you ask them what happened, it's the parents. So, yes, we can ask what about the children, but the parents are the ones who are going to be able to determine if we can successfully speak to and counsel with other children so that we can be that community. So with that said, Brother Sal, does anybody have their hand in the air?
All right, we do have, I think, 2 callers that pressed number 1. Once again, the phone line is open, people. The phone line is open. You know that number by now. It's 319-527-6239. You can call in via phone or via Skype. Remember, I got to keep it clean, keep it professional once you call into the show. And, we do know that we have a lot of people listening to the show with their kids and even the elderly. So let's go to the next person, though. Let's go to, I see we have a Skype caller here. Skype caller, you're live in air.
Shalom. I guess I got a quick comment. But first I want to commend everybody on the panel. I don't think you guys understand. Well, maybe you do, because I heard some of you guys say how many people are actually really listening and how many people really are depending on people like you guys to help us grow and help us come deeper into understanding. So my first comment, I guess, is just to say, I commend the brothers and the sisters for trying to work and trying to build Israel up. My second, I guess, statement is I think as a group, as a nation that's trying to grow, we need to understand what the Torah says, especially when it comes to the curses. And the main thing that we need to understand is that we'll be stricken with madness. Myself being a mental health professional, I see so many children, especially of Israel, and I guess when I say that, I guess I'm saying bloodline Israel. I couldn't get into a whole discussion about that, but African Americans, black, whatever, black children that are so mentally stricken with all types of trauma based upon what they've experienced in life. And so when we're speaking to that, we need to understand the necessity for us, especially the shepherds, the parents, the mores, whatever we call them, to really have an understanding of how to properly counsel the parents, because the parents have also gone through afflictions. Myself, being a military veteran, suffered from PTSD, and it was actually the Torah and understanding the scriptures that brought me out of so much pain and gave me proper coping mechanisms. This is something that we really have to take into account. Our children are exposed to so much now because of technology that if we're not speaking to that, we're missing the point. We literally will kind of just talk, and they'll say yes, and they'll nod, and they'll agree, but then they got to go back out, especially our children that are in these inner cities, that are in these really, like I grew up in the Bay Area. This is a really rough area. So you can say what you want, but at the end of the day, a 14-year-old may have to carry a gun or may have to do all of these crazy things just to survive. So we need to be able to speak to these issues from a perspective of counseling, from a perspective of understanding that they need to learn coping mechanisms. And if that means that we need to educate ourselves more on counseling and how to properly counsel people, get a paraprofessional certificate so we can go out and properly help these people, then we need to work on that. My question is under the same premise that we need to understand how to counsel, is there any way, anything coming? Because a brother like me is kind of hesitant for getting involved with anything in this community because of the stigmas, because of the dysfunction, because of the disunity. Is there any plan, anything that for our shepherds, the people that I consider, like yourselves on this show, the other guests that are always on the show, is there anything that we can do to get you guys to start sitting down and talking to each other to start to present and provide united fronts in all of this ignorant, and I don't mean to bang on One West, so that's not what I'm going to do, but all of the doctrines that are coming out of these One West camps and other camps to kind of even force them out, like almost, exclude them and make them, isolate them, so that way the people that are really trying to grow, we aren't isolated. Like my family, we've been in truth for a while. And I say truth, right, not separate from conscience, but actually in truth, understanding how to rightly divide the scriptures. Is there a way that we can unify and give us something? Because, what are you going to bring your kids to? What are you going to bring your family to once you come out of Christianity, once you come out of Islam, you come into the truth, you learn who you are, you read the Torah, you read the entire book, the front and the back of the book or whatever, but then you're limited on who you can unite with because it's so dysfunctional. How can we do that? Because that's really what's going to affect our children in the future. If they have nothing to unite to, nothing to come to, they're lost. And I guess I'll yield with that.
Let's go to Emunah, and after that you can select who you want to speak, Emunah. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I want to thank the caller for calling in. Definitely, he's speaking my language, so I'm hyped in the sense that you're speaking the language that I have come to understand, through the Spirit of the Most High. Is that if we're not talking about counseling, if we're not talking about healing, if we're not talking about humility, if we're not talking about assessing the trauma realistically, then we're not ready. So to his question, I would say when you hear someone singing your tune, link that person. Sometimes when we talk about, unity, we're still going to bring in a lot of the same things that's coming in. But when somebody's on that same vibration, then, linking with those people on that same vibration then magnifies that vibration as opposed to trying to force the people to come in. If you tune into the station of the Creator, the Most High sets the tune. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the only, in my estimation, and I'll go around, the only way we can unify is on the tune of the Creator. So we have to dial into the Most High station. That means personally for ourselves, we have to be on this search. We have to, you know what I'm saying? Because if not, it's once again we fall back into that paradigm of one person telling the next person what to do based on that person's understanding. But if we do those things for ourselves and begin to work on our own, like you said, owning whatever things we may be traumatized by and finding our way through those messes, then we will be prepared to come together as a community. But until that point, when we do come together, it's going to be a lot of this mental acrobats and manipulation and subjugation and, you know what I'm saying, all of these nations as an attempt to struggle for this power that people are looking for. And so that would be my thought process to it. And one more thing, myself and Sister Mayanah, as you see us here, what we tend to do here and other places, we team up on a lot of things and invite the community to have the conversation. And what we noticed is, this is an open platform. If you want to be on the panel, you could come and have this conversation. But what we have noticed is that when you do that, a lot of people shy away from that, and then they will go into other spaces and have the conversation. And so you just have to look out for people who are actually willing to make the changes. Because it's one thing to know that, oh, man, I really got to clean up in here. It's another thing to actually do it. And we have to look at people who are actually willing to do the work, because that's the only way it's going to get done. But with that said, I'll check on Sister Onleilove and see if she have anything that she would like to add to what the caller said. And once again, caller, thank you for calling in. And feel free to let us know your name again, caller. I think I missed your name. Sister Onleilove.
Yes, I was waiting for the brother's name, but what he said definitely resonated with me as someone who has worked in social work and who organizes. I do think we need Hebrews who are trained and willing to counsel people. And, he was talking about a way for us to get together. And I know, Sister Emunah, you talked to me about an organizing project that you and Sister Mayanah are working on. But I do think whether it's online or face-to-face, maybe some type of gathering where there can be workshops on mental health, on homeschooling. Maybe we do it regionally and then move it from place to place, even if it's webinars. So those of us who want to contribute something positive can start organizing ourselves to do so. I think we do have a lot of mental health issues that I've observed among us, and that's from the curses as well. And anytime you have some sort of sickness is indicating that there's an imbalance. And again, I have to go back to what I said in my opening comments. We're Hebrews still trying to follow a Greco-Roman way of setting up a family, of being a man, of being a woman. And that's one of the reasons the curses is on us, is because anytime we're under captivity, we try to live in the way of our oppressors. Anytime you have an imbalance, you're going to get sick. If you eat too much sugar, your insulin is going to go up. If you don't have a balance between the masculine and feminine, there's going to be sickness, including mental illness. And so I love what the brother said about paying attention to the mental illness, but I would also love to hear from other panelists about maybe some ways we can start getting together to organize ourselves to, you know, provide some positive alternatives in Israel. And I'll pass the mic.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that. You know, it seems like once you put an idea out there, then people come along to make you understand that this idea needs to go forward. And so what Sister Onleilove was speaking about and what the brother was asking about is something that, you know, we're having conversations about going forward in having these, again, regional to a certain degree conversations and workshops, like parenting actual workshops, you know, problem resolution workshops, you know, learning how to communicate and getting beyond certain barriers that we may have. You know, these are the things that, you know, beyond, again, like Brother Akwetey, we're going to come to you, beyond the conversation of the world flat or round, you feel me? You know, how to deal in these communities that everybody wants to come and unify. If we look at the Torah and look at all of the issues that came up, understand that they're going to come up again. These are the things, because it's about human nature and human behavior. So the more that we learn about ourselves is the more that we're going to learn to be able to interact with one another in a positive and uplifting way. And with that said, Brother Akwetey, what would you like to add to the conversation of regard to what the caller said or anything that you've heard this far?
Thank you. I really agree with my sister Onleilove, what she said about the Greco-Roman ideologies. I always make this joke, and it's actually serious, that we claim Hebrews and Israelites, but yet we're still Greeks. We're so influenced by the ideas of the Greeks. We've implemented them. We think they're biblical, and they're not. I mean, everything that we do, if you look at the basis of it, it's actually a Greek idea. And one of the most difficult things to kill is an idea that is implanted into somebody, and the person has lived there and become matured with it. It's so difficult to kill an idea. Sometimes when you try to kill it, it multiplies. It becomes a lot. See, and the Greeks were good at that. They wanted to export their ideas, and they've exported their ideas, and we still, in Ghana, we're still suffering from these corrupt ideas that the Greeks taught us through the Romans about slaves and slavery. So, just as the slave driver and the slave both have to be educated, the parent and the child both need education. You know, some become parents because they wanted to have, if I can be blunt, legal sex. That's the reason why they got married. Have no clue about what marriage is. Have no clue about what Sister Emunah just talked about the energy that is used to make the individual. It goes a long way to shape the person, and then the name given to the person. So if we're able to start from the grassroots, the parent who is trying to instill wisdom, who is trying to instill Torah to this child, how much do they know? What they're instilling into the child, is it truth? Where did they get it from? What is the source of it? What is parenting? Where did they get the idea from? Have they seen it work? Or is just textbook? That's where the community comes in. Because if you're in a community and you're having problems, someone else can give you a hand. You don't shy away to go tell your sister, I'm having problems with this kid. Can you help me? Or maybe daddy is not home. We don't know where he ran off to. There are men in the community that will step in and play that father figure role. So if we are able to take all our, what word do we usually use? All our spiritual teachings and then make it practical, we're going nowhere. is just going to be intellectual information which cannot be applied. But we have to be able to apply these things. And if we get together with parents and the children, and I always rule for the women because they're so important in this part. You see, men give instructions. Women make sure that the instructions that was given is implemented by the kid. So Solomon says, listen to the discipline of your father. He just talks. He disciplines you. By the teachings of the mother. So if the mother is supposed to teach this kid from scratch, it means that we have to pour so much into her. We have to give her what she needs because she's the first teacher. And if we have these workshops, like the gentleman who called said, we bring in professionals, not only to teach Torah, but to teach financial independence, responsibility, all these other things that is needed to build a child. I think it's going to go a long way to help the family, the Hebrew family, come through and then build that community that we want to build.
All right. That means Akwetey is on the workshop. We have Sister Onleilove. I'm putting y'all on the spot. We got the caller. We got Sister Mayanah. Like, we building the team for this workshop. If you are educated in this space, if you are a counselor, I'm going to just say it right now so, I'm putting it out there. Y'all know I usually don't do this stuff, and when I say I want to do something and we can do something, then, it's really serious. So all the people on the panel right now, I'm calling y'all out, okay, including the caller. When y'all get that call, put your hand up, okay? So because this is, Mayanah's laughing because she knows I'm serious. You already know. It's already done. Just call it done because it was already in the works, and this is just a confirmation of that thought process. But with that said, what time is it? Wow, 10 o'clock. So Brother Sal, let's check on see if we have any more callers with their hands in the air as it relates to what about the children. One more thing before I go to Brother Sal. Brother Akwetey just said something. He said he likes to concentrate on the women because they're the ones who are going to be in first contact and continual contact with the children. And speaking to the fact that the reality is there are a lot of single women raising these children, our children, and I've heard some in the past crying out for help. It sounds all nice and good, in theory, like Brother Akwetey was just saying, but they have actually cried out for help. Like, this is heavy. I cannot carry it anymore. But because we the people are consumed in our own spaces and already to some degree at a deficit, their cries are not heeded. What are some real-time solutions for women who are saying, you have a young man and he's 12, 13 years old, and, I'm saying, mommy's not working anymore. Mommy doesn't want to hear mommy. What are some, or a daughter who needs the authority of her father, but he's not there, and the sort of there being the sickness and brokenness in the community and women wanting to reach out to community leaders, but also afraid that these leaders would be that these leaders would be abusive to their children as well. Go ahead. The mic is open.
All right, so what I'm going to do is before we move on to the next caller, let's go back to the Skype caller. You wanted to know his name. Hopefully he's there. Skype caller, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, yeah, you can put your name out there if you would like to, and then put some last words before we go to the next caller. Go ahead.
I want to say something to him. There you go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Brother Ahwar. Yeah, I wanted to say this, right? Going back to that curse that I brought out in the beginning, what we can add to that curse is this, as far as the mental illness. This is Psalms 78:49. He cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, wrath, and indignation, and trouble by sending evil angels among them. And I read that to say that a lot of mental illness is nothing but demonic activity that come from when we were church. A lot of us suffer from that, man. A lot of people don't realize that. You see those people on the train talking to themselves and they be homeless. A lot of them are dealing with or battling with demons, demon activity. Okay, and That's a conversation a lot of us don't want to deal with. A lot of us are not sane. We're infested with demons, and that's a conversation that we don't believe it. But when you read about what happened with King David and King Saul had demons on him. It tell you that, but we don't discuss that, and that's why a lot of kids can't get right or whatever. Some of them infested with demons. A lot of us infested with demons. But I just want to put that out.
I agree with you, but I also think that there's a way we got to deal with it. So I think one of the sisters had said earlier. By the way, my name is Brother Akwetey. But and I'll be reaching out to all of y'all over the next couple of days, so that way we can try to work on this. I do have some things that I'm working on in the idea. I'm very leery about who's listening and who's doing what, and my whole heart is for Israel. So anyway, when you talking about what was that, sister?
No, go ahead, brother. I just wanted to make sure I get your attention before you go. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. I agree with the demonic influences, but I also think one of those sisters that spoke earlier about everybody waking up at different points in times, being at different points in their walk. So, right, while we may be on meat, if you run up to somebody new in this and start hollering at them about demons and this, that, and the third, they're going to run away. So I think we have to put together practical ways, like I think his brother Akwetey, he was talking about talking to these youngsters on their levels. It goes to the same with the parents. Like, I know we think because a person is 30 or 40 or even 50, like, oh, they grown, we should be able to, talk. You can't. Everybody, like, you got to deal with people where they at. When the Most High talks about, like, come and let us reason together, like, we got to meet people where they at. That don't mean that we change. We don't dumb down the message. We just change the way we present it, and then as they grow, we can influence in that. Like, my sister is actually schizophrenic, right? So I'm working with her, teaching her how to overcome this, because if you study schizophrenia, it's not just genetic, like it's genetic as well as trauma-based, right? So a lot of what we're dealing with is our genetics of it, or what we call epigenetics, the things that have been passed down socially from generation to generation, as well as trauma. And this is a purposeful social design, right? This is purposeful. When you have people in former administration saying that they purposely put drugs and things into our community, we know that this is purposeful. But the goal is not to get angry and, we come into conscience, we want to bang on everybody. The goal is to realize, okay, we can, if we as a community start to get this and overcome this with the love of the Most High, right? That don't mean we got to be everybody's friend, right? Being pro-black don't mean being anti-white. It just means I'm pro-black. I'm not saying I ain't got to be friends with my oppressor. I'm more worried about loving on my people than banging on everybody else. I'm ready to bang. Don't get it wrong. I done jumped out of planes in the country. I done jumped out of planes, right? I got awards for this. But on the flip side, I've really been at war, right? I don't think we understand what it's like to really be at war. So a lot of us are preaching war. You don't know that the fallout of that. So the point that I want us to see, I pray that we begin to see, is there are many brothers like me, many sisters like me, that are hesitant to get involved because there's no head, so to speak. And I'm not saying we need to have somebody lording over us, but we need to have a unified front that's saying, okay, here's where you go if you need psychological help. Here's where you go if you need economic advice. Here's where you go, yada, yada, this, that, and the third. And until we really take the time for our shepherds to do that, and if I'm one of the ones that got to step up, my wife keeps telling me, stop getting mad, just step up, stop getting mad. You know all of this stuff, go do it. And I'm ready to do that. That's not a problem, but I don't argue with people. I don't fight with people, right? I mean, if we really want to meet up later and handle it like men, we can, but I'm more about sitting back trying to figure out the way to solve the problem and avoiding semantics. Let's really solve the problem, because our children literally are dying. Like the sister talked about these women in D.C. that's missing, right? I guess I tell people about, people were so worried about Columbine. Bro, I grew up in Richmond. We was getting shot at school all the time. People was getting shot in the school all the time. That wasn't making the news. Right, so I think we really have to focus on the loving of Israel, because we will, and then at that point we will be that light. That's our purpose, is to be the light, but we can't be the light until we start to shed the light into our community. I guess I'm done after that.
That's true, bro. All right. That's why I wanted to say something. Yeah.
I wanted to say something to the brother, but I know that the other call is holding. So, brother, if you just reach out to us, our contact information will be in the description. I want to address the question, but I want the other callers to get the questions out, and then I will just kind of address it in my closing so that we don't delay that any further.
Right, and like I said, I appreciate all y'all. I ain't finna put too much of my information out on this, but I do want to connect with y'all, and I think what sister I don't remember what sister said it, but she was saying, we have to link up with the people that's on that same vibration. I think it was dope how you said get on God's station, get on the Most High station. So I would definitely start to reach out and do these things, because I think there is a solution for this, especially with social media and all of the things that we have. We just have to stop making excuses and just go ahead and do it. And those that don't want to get down, they can get cut off. I mean, that's really where I'm at this point. I get so fed up with this hate everybody when we're not even teaching love, and we have teaching the word, right? We have really sit down and really examine this entire book. So I appreciate y'all. There's a lot of people that appreciate y'all. Don't think that y'all working in vain. Keep going. Keep fighting, because the race is, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. So all praises to the Most High. And
yeah, thank you for
that. We appreciate you. More anything you want to say? We do have another caller standing by.
I appreciate the caller, because, the Most High has been sending people lately to just say be encouraged, because truthfully you do get tired. You do have, like Sister Mayanah says, and Brother Ahwar comes on here, Brother Akwetey now to the conversation, Sister Onleilove where she is, Brother Sal Showtime, you know what I mean? Sometimes 5-4 days a week. This is extra. You know what I mean? It's necessary, but it's extra. So it's good to hear that, be encouraged, because it's work. It's definitely work. So yeah, we'll go to the caller and we'll hear what they're saying, and then we'll go ahead and wind it on down, and like to get closing statements from everyone and see if we can leave here with a little bit of practicality, a little bit of what can I do when I leave here. So go ahead, Brother Sal, if you will, to the caller.
All right, we have one more caller standing by. And I see we have a lot of people listening via phone and via Skype. We definitely appreciate y'all. And make sure you share the show on your personal pages on social media. Spread awareness of the Relationship Challenge and Debate Talk Radio. We definitely appreciate the people that are doing that already. Let's go to the next call. Let's go to 702-806. You're live in there.
Yeah, hello, panel. This is Bishop Isaiah. How you doing, Sal?
Hey, what's going on, man? How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Spreading the word on a daily basis, and I'm just experiencing, different things, with the awakening of the Hebrew Israelites, and I've been listening to this conversation of the panel. It sounds very positive. The main topic, based on what I heard, I'm gonna try to state here, is about the children. The problem is not the children making the transition. The problem is the parents, and I'm gonna give you an example. I run into people every day that I converse with that says they've been awakened. I run into men, they say they've been awakened, but I see them with a cigarette in their mouth, smoking. I run into women that's been awakened, and I know most of the people, they have families. And when I look at the women, I go straight to Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 5. Either they wearing pants or they're wearing those tights. It's a common thing for women. I guess I guess because they want their figure to be seen, or however they want to do it. This is what they're doing now. For you to set example for your kids, you have to be the example. And a lot of our people that have been awakening, mentally they know who they are, but they're not following through for the true laws, statutes, commandments. Also the dietary laws. A lot of them probably. They're still eating pork, or they're still celebrating holidays. So for the children to make the transition, it has to come through the parents. And as of right now, based on my experience, it's been a challenge for the parents to be able to do that on a consistent basis. Now, one of the things I will say is that we definitely need to come together as a family, and we need to get a congregation going. And it's been on my mind consistently. I know Ward. I heard Ward a lot. I really like Ward's teaching. There's other teachers out there, even new teachers that has come about that have impressed me. But I have to say, two people out of everybody I've heard. Now, the women have impressed me, the ones that I've heard, and even a couple on the panel tonight. But I have to say, Brother Ward, and they have this other teacher by the name of Reggie Cox. Those have been my two strongest people that I listen to when they're talking about different events regarding the Most High. Now, one of the things that I will recommend, because I know Ward is a part of another congregation, but, I've been waiting on Sal Showtime to form a group through a show called the Roundtable Israelites, to where, if he can have the time where at least twice a month, get the true Israelites on that show to really have discussions to talk about just everyday events, if it's regarding the other churches, which GMS made a strong statement, which I disagree with, but I won't go into that. But if it's regarding the other churches or just Israelites, period, us coming together as a roundtable group through Shal Showtime show can really be a boost. So I'm just waiting for Sal to authorize it and get it going, because we need to do something, because although we have been awakened, we still have a lot of sheep out there that's still scattering. And although we might come together for a minute and all of a sudden we break apart and we go back into the scattering phase again, well, we have to stick together and follow the instructions of our fathers, which is Yahweh and Yahweh Shah. Let them lead us. And by fellowshipping with them, they will definitely lead us in the right way, to where this confusion that's going on amongst our people will come to a close, because they can do anything they want to do. And by fellowshipping with them, they simply saying, well, our people's reaching out to us, and by them doing that, this is what we're impressed with. They're basically doing what we want them to do, and then they will respond back to other people that has been awakened, and then this confusion amongst our people will definitely decrease. Whenever Sal is ready, he can add me to the list. I like working with Ward. I like the women that have been on the panel. But really, I really like working with Sal and working with Ward, because, Ward is in this thing, 1,000%. And I'm not saying anything against the women, but I've heard Ward more, and I've been, hearing his voice more. And I know the guy knows it in and out when it comes to this truth. And so if we can get something going through Shal Showtime, we can authorize it. That would be a great thing to form a congregation that's called the Roundtable Israelites. I just want to hear the panel's view of how they feel about that. And with that, I turn the mic.
We'll definitely try to work on that. But Emunah, you want to say anything? Yes.
I just want to say thank you, to the caller for sharing his thoughts. So as he was speaking, something came to my mind that, and I think it was Sister Onleilove who spoke about it before, about the masculine and feminine energy. Because we have different jobs and descriptions, the men would tend to want to do more of one thing, and the women more of another. And so in this case, there are so many men speaking. You know what I mean? There are men speaking all over, and as the caller rightly said, there's division everywhere. And in my estimation, as we are now, as we're having this conversation about the children, there's certain things that need to be taken off of the just speaking realm and the practicality, putting your hands to it realm. You know what I'm saying? Actually doing things in our spaces and in our community that's going to affect change. Like Onleilove said it earlier, we don't have any orphanages, or we don't have any, to a certain degree, programs that are going to make sure that the people who are in and around you are going to be affected by the good that you're doing. And so if possibly we could take some of this talk and convert it into the doing, I think it will reach much further than just trying to market our voices to people, if you could kind of understand what I'm saying. And so that's really my thoughts on it. That I do agree that we need to, have conversations about current events, but then on the other hand, what are we going to do about these current events as they are occurring? We have people amongst us who are unemployed. We have people amongst us who, they are in need of things. How do we address those things? What are we willing to do to actually make a change in their lives? And so that's what I would say to that. I'm going to open up the panel now for closing based on what you've heard for the entire night. And can I get one piece of somebody's listening right now and they're like, that sounded good, but what am I going to do now? One practical solution to someone who may be listening, the parent of children, the uncles or aunts of children, grandparents. What could one practical solution from everybody on the panel that they can actually go and implement in their spaces today? I'll start with Sister Onleilove. The mic is yours.
So one practical solution around education for our young people, and there's a lot of things I can say, but just honing in on homeschooling. If you want to homeschool, research the laws in your state. Some states have more lenient laws than others. New York is a little bit more strict, and then you need to also find a curriculum that is approved to use for your children, and there are some curriculums that are based on the scriptures. There are a lot of big solutions where we can talk about, healing the risk, but I know a lot of our people are interested in homeschooling, and I don't want anyone to have their family broken up because they're trying to do that. So please research the laws in your state and look online for curriculums that are approved that you can use. Of course, you can add to it, but that's one thing I would say. And then I would also say, as much as possible, try to start planning things where you can mentor young people offline in real life, or even mentor adults who are new to the faith. And so those are just two suggestions from me, and I'll pass the mic.
All right. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for being a panelist today. Onleilove, your contributions were well received, and do come back again. At this point, we're going to go to Brother Akwetey. Brother Akwetey, what are your last or closing thoughts, as well as one practical solution that someone can go away from this conversation and begin to implement within their lives? The mic is yours.
Okay, practical solution. In the book of Genesis, we are told that when Adam was created, God refused for anything to grow because there was no man to manage the earth. God needs management. Where there is no management, God retires growth. We should see parenting as a business. If we approach it that way, we'll take it more seriously. And in any business that we have to know what product we are selling to our customers, which in this case, they are children. Our children are our customers, and we own a business. What is the value of the products that we are selling? Our homes or our houses are the store. And what are we selling to our kids? What's on the shelf? Maybe it might be happiness, love, financial and emotional independence, responsibility, inner strength, healthy and strong religious values, to mention but a few. Now, we have to also know the customer. Different folks, different strokes. No two customers are exactly the same. No two kids are the same. You have to raise the kid according to the kid's ways. It's also very important that we know our competition in building our businesses. We have real competition out there, and they are selling the same product that we are trying to sell to our children. And they have perhaps a much larger budget for selling their products than we have to communicate the values of our products to our customers, our children. So we should know how to package our products to make sure that our customers will want to come back to our stores and buy our products, even after tasting someone else's. on a college campus, in somebody's home where we don't have the same control. If we do not know what our competition is and how powerful they are, we will underestimate our competition and we'll find ourselves out of business. So we should be able to communicate the value of the product that we are selling in our stores to our customers so that when, not if, when they taste other people's product under the same name of happiness and love, maybe freedom and independence, they can say the one that they bought from our store is the original version. It is real. We should be able to communicate with such clarity that our version, that we give to our children, is good and clear. So no matter where they go, no matter how far they are from our stores, they will keep coming back to us because of the value, because of the truth that we passed on to them. We are all in business. Anyone who's a parent is a business. You are selling a product, and there are other people out there selling the same product, some fake, some an imitation. And we should know how to package our products to our children so that they know that this is the truth. This is the real one. Everything out there is an imitation. Yes, they will taste it, but we pray that they come back to us and say, you know what, Mommy, Daddy, you were right. This one is the authentic one. So that is my practical idea for anybody. My closing remarks. I want to share this amazing story, and I hope it would answer Sister Emunah's question about the women raising the children by themselves and they are tired, and how we can maybe start to solve that problem. On a safari, and I saw an event that changed my thinking, and out of that, we're able to form what we call Leadership for the Third World, where we educate kids on leadership and how to become great people that would influence the country of Ghana. On the safari, we heard a loud roar, like the roar that Sal usually plays on here, the lion's roar. And the guide told us to be silent because the king of the jungle is going to eat today. I've always wondered why the lion is called the king of the jungle, because he's not the biggest, he's not the fastest, he's not the most handsome, he's not the smartest, but he's still called the king of the jungle. So when he said that, I was excited. I'm going to see how the lions hunt. There was this huge elephant, and the elephants knew that the lions were coming because of the roar that they gave before they attacked. 3 lions came out, one in the east, one next to it, pretty not too much of a distance. 3 of them stayed strategically at 3 positions, and they were just laying down there quiet, like nothing is happening. And the elephant is making noise, moving around. You can feel the ground shake, because huge animal. And as if with a divine signal, all 3 lions took off, and they attacked this elephant. 1 jumped on the back, 2 on the sides, and they dug their claws into the elephant. I mean, it was so intense. And the elephant started tossing them around like they were feathers, because it was a huge elephant. But the lions would not let go. Their claws were deep into the skin of the elephant that they would not let go, even though he was tossing them around like a feather. 10 minutes into that, the elephant got tired. It fell down, and one of the lions moved and took hold of the jugular or vein, and then just took the life out of the elephant. After that the incident, there was a much louder roar, louder than the first one. So we all asked the guide, what was that? And he said, look under the tree, and you see the male lion. That was when I realized that the 3 lions that went hunting were the females, the lioness. I got angry. I said, that's a lazy man. That lion there is a lazy man. How come the lioness are hunted and he's standing there doing nothing? And the guy said, no. He's doing the most important thing. He said, look closer. When we looked, we saw the cubs standing there, watching the battlefield. The male lion was making sure that they saw the strategy, they saw the principles, they saw the secret, the trade, the business trade, how to attack, how to work as a group. And he told me the man is doing the most important to make sure that the next generation observe the lioness hunt, because it's the lioness that hunt. It changed my thinking. I'm like, no wonder God does not associate himself with a dog or a baboon. He calls himself the Lion of the tribe of Judah, because the lion is the king of the jungle, because it trains its children from a young age, even when they cannot hunt. Sit and watch. And the man is there to make sure that as they watch, no one comes and attacks the children. If we're supposed to take a lesson from the lion and bring it into our families, I've always said, I don't care what people think. The woman is key. She was put there for a reason. God said, when they gave the Torah, everybody should research this. He said, give it to the women first, because they are the first teachers. The man has to be there to guide, to protect. Yes, he also has to teach the children. But if he's not there, he's putting the children, he's putting the woman at a disadvantage. She can do what her strength can get her to, but then she will get tired. The man has to be there. That is why, ladies, when you're going to get married, don't just marry the person. Marriage is not marrying an individual. It's two families coming together. It brings responsibility. When he is not there, you can go to his father. When the man chooses to run away, you can go to his brother. Their uncles, a family, a village raises a kid, not two people. If we take that ideology, not two people meeting at a well and say, I'm going to get married, let's get married, and nobody knows about it. No, there has to be accountability. These things are set up to protect everybody's interest, the kid, the woman, and then the man. We have to work together. We have to come together and take a lesson from the lion. He's not the smartest, the biggest, the fastest, yet he's called the king of the jungle, because he trains the young to be there from the beginning. This is how we become kings. You're going to be the next king. This is how it works. Thank you for the opportunity today.
All right. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. That was the voice of Brother Akwetey. That's our resident storyteller. His stories are so vivid, makes you feel like he was right there. So thank you for that, Brother Akwetey. We look forward to you on the home panel. Brother Ahwar, and then we're going to come to Sister Mayanah. Brother Ahwar, your closing thoughts on this conversation, hopefully not the last one, but the closing one for this evening. What are your closing thoughts on what about the children? What practical information, one practical thing that you would tell someone as they leave this conversation? The mic is yours.
Yeah, I would go to this is St. John 3, right? Starting at 3, it says, we say Yahushua. Yahushua answered and said unto him, Verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of the Most High. When you read Daniel 7:13, it gives you a scriptural visual of the kingdom. And the kingdom, everything's perfect. So let's understand what it means by this water. What was the water that he was talking about? I'm going to read this. This is Ecclesiasticus 15 in the King James Apocrypha. He that feareth the Lord will do good, and he that hath the knowledge of the law shall obtain him. Then it says, and as a mother shall she meet him and receive him as a wife married of a virgin. With the bread of understanding shall she meet him, feed him. So if you don't have understanding in Torah law, you can't get nothing done. And this is why you have a lot of confusion going on outside, and a lot of kids is mixed up with confusion, because a lot of people don't have the understanding of Torah law. And that's where you're having a problem. They do it robotically, but they don't have the understanding, okay? Like I said about the demons and the mental illness. Not everybody's built perfect. Not everybody's not battling with spirits in their mental. A lot of them cats you see on the street, they deal with mental illness. God said he's going to take that sign and stick it up somebody behind. That's not normal. He's not supposed to be on the street teaching. A lot of guys are dealing with mental illness and not even aware of it. This is the understanding that they don't get from Torah law. Let me read. Then it says, with the bread of understanding shall she feed him and give him the water of wisdom to drink. So let's get the spirit part. What do you mean by be born of the spirit? This is Ephesians 4:23. And it says, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind. So every one of us need to do that. You got to get a new mind. Like the Son of Man said, the Lamb said, you can't put new wine in old bottles. Okay? Meaning your old way, the way you are. You can't learn nothing new. You can't advance. And that's why a lot of us, we got to be born again, because we have to be renewed in our minds. We got a lot of things, a lot of entanglements. We got things we inherited from our parents genetically. Okay? Then it says, and that ye put on the new man, which after the Most High is created in righteousness and true holiness. So we do this, and we get the true instruction how to raise our kids and how to humble ourselves and how to be meek and how to be understanding and not bear grudges. These are great components, because, like, going back to the single mothers, right, you have a lot of single mothers, okay, those things happen due to, it's sometimes, humility will allow you to own your garbage, too. A lot of women don't like to own their stuff, and a lot of men don't like to own their stuff either, okay? So when you have humility, you will learn how to both examine yourselves. So once we do that, then you'll see this nation start moving. Unless we be renewed in our minds, it's going to all stay the same. And I'll pass the mic.
Thank you for that, Brother Award. Thank you for that. Sister Mayanah, the same question, closing thoughts. The mic is yours.
I was in terms of a practical solution. I would submit this. I have 3 boys that I'm charged with. They're my nephews, and every Shabbat and almost every other day, particular lessons. And on the Shabbat, they have to stay inside. They don't go outdoors. And we have a neighbor that's right across, and he wanted to play with the children. It was the Shabbat. He could not play with the children. But he wanted to be here. So I said, listen, you guys are going to learn, and this is a little boy that is allowed to play with my children when they're not, normally. So he came in and he learned Shabbat lesson with the boys, because that's what that's how all he could do with the boys on the Shabbat. I say that to show this, that the caller said, for example, what do we do? What we do is we educate who's close to us. Very often we want to do these grand things, and it's important to want to do these grand things and to reach people globally or throughout, from state to state and regionally, and the things that we're planning to do are important work. But more importantly is to teach our neighbor. If we want to be concerned about who our children are associate with those children. Bring those children inside. Because when they're outside, we send our children outside to play, and we forget that outside is not inside, and we don't know who's out there. But when we bring the children in here, when we bring the children in the home, we can help to control what our children are being exposed to. So the little boy that plays with my nephews understands the Shabbat. He understands they're not outside because, I'm a mean old lady, but because on the Shabbat there's something that needs to be observed, and he understands it because he had to sit in my house and learn it. He had to read from the book, from Torah. He read from Torah like everybody else. He sat there for an hour and a half, the boys. And that's how we grow our communities. We talk to our neighbors. We control our environment. We talk to those who are close to us. If you have a peer or you have a colleague, or when you're at the university or wherever you are, then that's how we start small. We grow our communities because we are the community. It's no small thing to say that you are a living testimony. And yes, like Emunah said before, it's great to have likes. It's great to have views. It's great to be recognized in social media land. But it's better to be understood by your neighbor. Because the people who are on YouTube are probably not going to be the ones sitting next, aren't going to be the closest one to you. I say, for example, if I go outside, I have had the ability to strike conversations while at the library, at the steps of the library, when I'm at the university, when I'm on the train, when I'm on the bus. And Mona has also often shared with me that even going to the supermarket or to the mall, people will come to you. The Most High will send people to you. That's what it's all about. We like to look at the people who have in the microphone and the crowd, and we say, wow, look, they're doing the work. No, you're doing the work. We're doing the work. Every time you sit down and you talk to a child, you've done the work. When your children are able to explain why they're not going to have that ham sandwich with on the school trip, they're doing the work. And that's how we do it practically. And these things that seem like little things, those are the important things. And, it would be very easy for me to give you all of these grand thoughts, and, I could do that. But practically, what everybody can do is take the time to talk to the people who are talking to you. Take the time to talk to the children, to the children who are talking to your children. And I think that's one of the ways. And I think the other reason I think will be great is that Emunah and I watched a video of sisters in the 70s having a similar conversation because they were being faced with these ideas of being misunderstood because of the Moynihan Report. All these people were calling them feminists, and they were concerned about the power movement. And so this particular broadcast decided to sit the women down and ask them who they were. And so they sat down and they had the conversation, and one sister asked the other sister, so what happens if they don't want to listen to us? What happens if they don't want to be a part of this? And the sister said, it's not important. You talk to the people that want to be a part of this. And when we say, right now we're being misunderstood as Yisraelites that think that we're all these horrible people, we're angry and we want to hate our women and we don't care about our children, then in the same way as these women said, you know what? We're going to tell you who we are. Then we need to take responsibility and tell them who we are instead of being understood the way they want to understand us. And with that, I wish everybody a good night and shalom.
All righty then. That was the voice of Sister Mayanah. Brother Akwetey, Brother Ahwar, Sister Onleilove, Brother Sal, Showtime on the ones and twos, the Blog Talk screen. Again, for those who just joined us or may come a little late to the conversation, you might have to rewind, go from the top. But this conversation was about what about the children. Hopefully from this space you were able to piece together that everyone is, not the same. You can't broad brush everyone. And there are people in the community that not only are concerned, but are making strides towards, like Mayanah said, and I agree. When you throw, I'm saying it in the Emunah version, when you throw a pebble into the water, it doesn't reverberate on the outer bands first. When the impact hits the water, that's where the ripple effect begins. And so, as she said, you have to be the ripple effect where you are. You know what I'm saying? And then, again, I agree, yes. That's why I say to a lot of people, yeah, I could be moving or do a whole lot of moving around, but then I will be moving out of my spot. You know what I'm saying? And my spot is where I am, and those who need me most and foremost. Like, I can't save the world, and my children looking like Oopa Loopa. That's a problem for me. So a lot of people be like, oh, Mona, I'm like, yeah, I move with a tribe. You understand what I'm saying? And so I say that to say if we begin to have those thought processes, that's when we come to terms with we're not doing it for the glory. We're not doing it for the fame. We're doing it to be doing it for real. Because if you see someone moving from their home base and letting their children look raggedy and scraggly, and out there talking about they saving the world, that person has their priorities messed up. Because the first responsibility that you were given are those who were within your sphere. And so I like to say self-praise is no recommendation. If you want to know if I'm all right, ask those who are closest to me. And if they're getting a bad report, then, you know what I'm saying, I might have to go check myself and make some adjustments. And if we put that to the forefront practically, not to say your children are always going to like what you have to say, and I'll give my practical, thought, and I'll leave it at that. They're not, because your job is not to be their friend. When they're growing, you're there to be that, not to break their spirit, which is another thing. And Brother Akwetey spoke about, knowing what type of child you have. You can't approach one child the way you approach another. It's the same way you can't approach one plant. Even when you plant seeds, they have instructions on the back. Well, this seed likes a lot of sun, and this seed likes a lot of water, and this seed, do it every 3 days to water it. So you have to know, you have to observe the spirit, and that's my practicality. Take time to just be still and not just force on the child. I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to go there, I got to go there. Observe the child if you haven't already. You know what I'm saying? Observe their likes and their dislikes. Observe the way they learn best. Maybe they're not audio. Maybe they're visual. Maybe they're tactile. I mean, they have to touch and interface. Don't just run them out when they want to say, hey, what you doing? Can I help you? When you hear things like this, especially from younger children, just take the time to say, come on. You know what I'm saying? Come, all right, let me show you. Let me help you. Now, it can't be every time, like, you in a rush, you know what I mean? And the child's like, hey, I can help you. Okay, now you can't help me right now. But, can I help you, do the salad? Yeah, you can help me wash the salad. And this allows them to feel involved. So in this process of coming into their culture, they have to have a level of investment and involvement in what it is that you're doing. And so this involvement will help them to feel as though they're a part of it and it is a part of them. And so hopefully what you've heard today is something that you can leave here with and even just share with someone else who may, because some people are like, I'm past that stage, I ain't got no children. Well, you may know somebody who has some children. You know what I'm saying? And so you could pass this information on. If it's not for you, it may be for somebody who you know. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Little girl, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Brother Sal, are you there? You could go ahead and check the phone lines, and if everything is all clear over there, we're done for the night. So, Brother Sal.
Yeah, I think we have one more person that wanted to say something. Hold on. 678-672. Press number 1. 678-672. Are you there? 678-672. Are you on the line?
Yes.
Oh, I guess.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Oh.
You wanted to say something? Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Yes. When you guys speak of practicality, the first thing that really came to my mind was thinking that we need to be more consistent with the children and be able to break down the questions that they may have. I know when I'm listening to different lectures, or if I'm reading a book or something, or I have to reread it over and over and over again in order to get a good understanding of what I'm reading. And I know for most of us as parents that we don't take the time to go over different things like that over and over and over again to our children. We kind of, I'll say me, sometimes I feel as though just explaining it twice or 3 times is enough. But it's not always like that. And if we can be able to take the Torah and actually place it as something that is real, because it is real, instead of being like Sister Emunah was saying, just some type of fairy tale book, but actually place it in its correct context and say, like, this is a real book and this is our history book, and be able to break down those different scriptures and whatnot. And I think that has a lot to do with how our children will be able to grasp the concept, grasp the idea, grasp the understanding of what it is to actually be able to walk in truth and keep at it. And that's it. Thanks.
All right, Emunah, you can respond to that, and we can pretty much wrap up.
No, thank you. No, thank you for that, sister. I would agree. Consistency is another practical solution or practical advice that can be given. You can't today tell them it's one thing and then tomorrow it's something else, because they're going to look for that. And I would say that look up that word diligently. When it says teach your children diligently, the other day I'm like, let me go back and check that word, and that lends to what you were saying about consistency. Look up that word in Hebrew, diligently, and you will find, you feel like you are just a talking head, and sometimes you get frustrated, but that's what it requires to make sure that you actually put the information there that they'll be able to assess it later on in life. So once again, thank you for calling in, and I pray everybody have a blessed night.
All right, so once again, we have another classic relationship challenge as usual. If you missed any portion of the show, you can go to the iTunes podcast. That's right, we're in iTunes. In the podcast section, let's type in the search box, Debate Talk for You. That's Debate Talk, the number 4 and the letter U. And subscribe to the iTunes podcast. Of course, we're going to be on YouTube, on the YouTube channel, Debate Talk for You. And, of course, check out the Blog Talk Radio website at www.blogtalkradio.com/Debate Talk for You. And check out the archives. Make sure you spread the word about Debate Talk for You. See you next time.
2017, Big Truth, Debate Talk for You. What up? Shout out Ahwar King, Big Boo, me. Shout out everybody. Check it. Hey yo, Debate Talk 4. You so you can absorb information free of charge so you can afford. Get poppin', live off the greatest doctrine. Sip the juice, know the ledge like the great Rakim. On a mission, not a small time thing. Defense biblical, offense got the haters watching. Hands are skill, footwork is ill. Get in the den, see if you can stand for real. If you rep Kim and Cool, yo I rep Israel. If you Torah based only or new as well, welcome to listen. Style always fair decision. Two sides come together to compare what's written. Seeking the facts, speaking the max, teaching the acts, leaking the tracks. Call while you eating your snacks.